iNobscuria.
Welcome back, my friends, to the iNobscuria podcast, a podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal, and we put them in one of three categories: the lost, the forgotten, or the should-have-beens. My name is Kevin Williams, and I am joined this week, you're not going to believe it, yep, it's Robert Harrison, who's still a little hungover from our weekend, I believe, that we had.
Yeah, that just didn't really stop once we got back here. It's just kind of kept going for 14 days, or however many days I can do the math. It involves math. I really don't want to do math right now.
Yeah, so obviously the last episode, we were preparing to go to the Rockin' Pod. We have been at the Rockin' Pod. I'm sure if you've been on our socials and have seen us, you've seen several pictures, and we had a good time. We had a blast. So we're going to continue this week. No shenanigans here. We are just going to continue where we left off. So we played a ton of music last week from some of the artists that were at the event. We had a chance to talk to some of those folks, and what I'd like to do this week is hear a little bit from them. So I think we should do a total recap, Robert. If you remember, now it's been a week since we've been back. So Sunday was rough, man. When we left, I was struggling a little bit.
It was a long drive home. I'm glad it was your responsibility. It was nice to be able to just sit.
Yeah. So if you're tuning in for the first time, this is going to be weird, but we just got back from the Rockin' Pod Expo 2021, which was in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was basically a convention of podcasters in the rock and roll world
and fans
and a lot of artists, mostly from the 70s and 80s and a couple of 90s artists, I believe, and then there were some new artists,
brand new,
and I thought it was so cool. We had a table we set up, and there were a bunch of new artists walking around introducing themselves and kind of pimping themselves out. I thought it was great.
I thought it was a great way to kind of market yourself in a new way, because calling your local radio station and giving them a cassette is kind of a thing from 30 years ago.
Although the kids these days are back into cassettes.
But I'd just say a demo. Yeah. You don't do that. Nobody gives a rat's ass anymore. So go into a podcast where the guys are actually passionate about rock and metal and punk, and that's who you want to get a hold of and get them to maybe help give you some PR.
Exactly. And I thought it was cool because they would come by and they'd say, well, here's our band or what we do or what we're about, and I always said, well, you're at the right table, because that's exactly what basically what we're all about, is promoting things that are lost upon people's ears. They just haven't been exposed to it. So
you can be obscure and be brand new.
Exactly.
You may not
obscure.
You may not be obscure later on. That's perfectly fine. But as of this moment, if you're brand new, then you fit right in with our theme.
Yeah, we would love to promote you and get you out of obscurity. So
move you to the other world.
Move you to the next level. And then you wouldn't be on our show anymore, but we'd still talk about you.
Yeah, we still blackmail you.
So Rockin' Pod was great. So what I thought we'd do, Robert, if it's cool with you, this is episode 90.
Good Lord have mercy.
Man, this is
90.
Yep, Rock in Obscuria Pod. See what I did there? Part 2.
That was a tongue twister, but it worked.
Yeah, it didn't work that well last episode, but I'm going to go with it again. We're just going to do it again. So
we're repurposing. That's all the rage.
Exactly. And one thing that I have to mention is we gave away lots of deviled ham. I know a lot of people saw video as well as photos of us giving away our potted meat. So before we get in, I do have to do one last little promo here from our sponsor.
One more time.
The last one.
Going out.
Underwood Deviled Ham.
That's what I feel like right now.
It's all good ham and a pinch of spices. For good meat and good flavor, try the whole ham spread.
From Underwood.
Oh, yes. So I just had to play our sponsor out. One last time.
Thank you, Underwood Deviled Ham, for your sponsorship. God, I can't even talk. Your sponsorship.
I'm
so hungover.
Yeah, so we had
very gracious of them.
We had more fun this weekend, didn't we?
It just, like I said, didn't really stop. So this has been a crazier 10 days than I've had in years. And so it's kind of nice to have that. But it's been wacky world. I need a stunt double. I just realized that. I need a stunt double. It's like, here, do this shot, Robert. Sure, let me hand it to this guy over here because this is killing me.
Well, let's just go through. So we got there. We left fairly early on Friday. We're in Atlanta, Georgia. So driving to Nashville.
We had to beat rush hour traffic, or else we never would have gotten out of Atlanta.
Exactly. And we were about 4.5 hours, maybe 4 hours, depending on how we drive and what kind of traffic we have. The first thing I noticed on Friday when we got there was, well, I guess I should say before we even got there, we were getting texts from Brad Rustovan with the Slamfest podcast, who they just did a great recap. They did the whole pre-party, which we're going to go into a little bit, but not nearly in as much detail. If you want the detail on the pre-party, go listen to Slamfest podcast, the latest episode. Well, it'll be a week old when this comes out, but anyway, go listen to that. But Brad was texting us, letting us know that he was landing, and I'm assuming he was wanting us to make sure that the beer was on ice and ready for him. We'll talk about that a bit more in a minute, but when we finally got to the hotel, it was just a little bit outside of Nashville, so we weren't really in the heart of Nashville. We were near the airport, which was fine, but the first thing I noticed was that Chris Czynszak was limping.
Yeah, gimpy.
He looked a little gimpy. I'm like, wow, this really took a toll on him this year. But no,
so he took out his kneecap.
Yeah, he had a little foot issue, so he had a cast on. So that was one of the first things I noticed.
While you're running a major expo event, having to walk back and forth across hotel lobbies and things and convention floors, that sucked.
You could tell we were in the right place right away because it was all black T-shirts and dudes that looked like podcasters.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, we fit the bill.
And we fit right in. And I did notice right away that, because obviously we went up to our room, we put some stuff away, and then we came down and went immediately to the bar and noticed that Ricky Rotman and Leah Vendetta were down there.
Just hanging out, having a drink.
And there was also Vinny Appice was at the bar while I was trying to get a beer. It took us a while to get a beer.
Yeah, so there was, just like a lot of people are experiencing, there were some staffing issues. They were doing the best they could, bless their hearts. And there's a long line. And we had somebody that just completely saved our day and provided us with beer. I think he owed us beer anyway, but it was very gracious of Brad to provide us with some really high quality Coors or something like that.
Yeah, so by the time Brad got there, obviously they know what they're doing. They're the Slamfest
They're
podcast.
professionals.
This is what they do.
Us.
They go to shows, and it's all around having the music, the pre-gaming experience. That's the whole thing they do. And they taught us a lesson, basically, because they went to the Citgo.
Across the street.
The street.
Gas station, basically.
The gas station. They got some beer. They got a
Couple
lot
of cases.
of beer.
Yeah, like, 2 cases?
And early on, Brad was also like, what are you guys doing for dinner? Because I think we're going to order a pizza. And we're like, oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, because once again, their little cafe was backed up.
Yeah, so everything at the hotel was taking forever. And we had a couple of beers there, but it did take a long time. You could not afford to get drunk there because it would just
You'd sober up by the time you get your second one.
Now, we had on Friday, the reason we had gone early was because we had our very first interview, and it was just an amazing experience, although it almost wasn't.
Yes. Are we going to call them out?
We don't have to call them out, but let's just say we had a set time. The way this works is...
Dickhead podcast.
Yeah, the way this works is every podcaster had a chance to get into this lottery to get the biggest names. And one of the big names was Vinny Appice. And we got Vinny as one of our interviews. And so the way they did it was, because of the demand was so high, Vinny was doing his interviews on Friday. And I believe he did some on Saturday as well. But he was kind of splitting his time so he wouldn't have to be completely tired from all the interviews. So we were waiting on our time slot for the Vinny interview. And I believe you were lost. You were somewhere you couldn't be found.
Well, the directions were I'm upstairs, and I still managed to get lost from I'm upstairs.
Yeah. So anyway, we were on the second floor waiting on this. So I'm sitting in this kind of waiting room area where it was right next to the room where Vinny was, and he was conducting an interview at the time. So I touched base with Tracy, who was running the whole show. And by the way, she did an amazing job. And I was sitting in the waiting room. There was a group of, pretty large group actually, of one podcast, but it was like, I don't know,
they had an entourage.
6 of them or 7 of them.
Yeah, they had hangers on.
And I didn't know them, but I assumed that they were in queue. I was after them. And then there was, then some guys came in that were leaving the interview. That when I walked in, they were leaving the interview. And so that was the rock and metal profs. And I met those guys. They were very cool. And the big group of 7 went immediately into the room with Vinny. So my assumption was, and this is right at our time, and my assumption was that we must have been running behind. I'm cool with that. No big deal. But I was thinking, wow, Tracy usually is so on time. Well, then Tracy comes in the room, and this is right before you get there. Mm-hmm. And she goes, your crew's in there. I'm like, that's not my crew. I was like, no, she's like, but you're at 320, right? I said, yeah, I'm at 320. I said, I just assumed you guys are running behind. She goes, no, we're not. Let me go find out what's going on. So apparently this podcast that we will not name had talked to Vinny in the bar, and he said, come up and we'll talk. And so they just went up and basically stole our time slot. But Tracy worked it out. She had him end a little early, and we got in and we talked talked to Vinny. I don't know what you thought, but I just remember thinking I was high as the moon. At that point, it was just, wow, some of the stuff he told us and the fact that I was talking to this guy that I've been listening to since I was 14. I don't know what your thoughts were.
Oh, well, it started off as, this is interesting. This is cool. We get to interview Vinny. And then as the interview progressed, it drew me in more. And I got more and more excited that I'm sitting in front of this guy and listening to the stories that you'll hear in just a second. It was absolutely amazing to be there and be 2-3 steps removed from absolute rock and roll history, just to hear this person that was around doing some really cool things. So yeah, it just, by the time we were getting told to wrap up by Teresa, and he just kept talking, and we were
Tracy.
I butcher everybody's name.
You're gonna get everybody's name.
Yeah,
wrong.
that's okay. That's what I do. But he was very forthcoming. Just wanted to keep talking, and Kevin and I were just looking, going like, "It's not us. We're like packing up our stuff, and we're like putting our things away." And Vinny just keeps talking.
She was giving us the eye, and even Vinny noticed, like, oh, she's giving us the eye. I'm going to keep talking because I am an Italian from New York, and this is what we do. We talk.
Yeah, and so we're just, we don't want to go, we've had enough, Vinny, so we just let him talk, and we ran over a little bit, but it was worth it because I could have stayed there all night long and just listened to him tell stories. It was amazing.
And we tried to talk about things, obviously, that we thought that other podcasts maybe wouldn't talk about. So we're going to let you hear that right now. All right, let's go ahead and get this going. Vinny, we're not going to go into who you are. Everybody knows who you are, man. You're an icon. Nice. You're an icon, dude. So I'm going to give you a little breakdown on what we do, because we do things a little bit differently. We are the iNobscuria podcast, okay? So we tend to cover things in rock and punk and metal that are maybe more obscure. So songs or bands that are kind of lost.
Something different.
Exactly. So bands that are either lost, like you didn't know about them, bands that were one time famous and maybe they've been forgotten since then, or bands that we just think should have been huge.
That's good, because I've done interviews at home. They go, hi, they say, okay, what's up? Well, you said in your last interview that you did. I said, well, why don't you read the interview?
Exactly. So we're not going to ask you.
Can you just replay that interview?
So here's what we're going to do. If it's okay with you, we're not going to talk about Dio. We're not going to talk about Sabbath. Okay. I know everybody talks about that. We already know all that. Here's what I'm thinking. Are there groups or are there bands that either you have been involved with or just bands that you know that you think never got their due, or they're new, or they just should have been huge and it didn't happen? So do you have any stories?
Well, when I grew up, I listened to a band called Blue Cheer.
Oh, yeah.
A 3-piece metal band. The guys had the album came out, and they looked cool as shit. 3 guys.
That counts for a lot.
Huh?
That counts for a lot right there.
Right. These guys, one guy had black long hair, and then 2 blondes, and they were on either side long. They were skinny, and wow. Then I turned the album over, and they go, we recorded this album on a pier because we're so loud. I went, thank God, this is for me.
My new guys.
So I was like, yeah, real raunchy kind of stuff. And so I thought they were going to make a real dent in the business, but they didn't. But I'll tell you a story. That must have been 15 years ago. Somebody hooked me up with one of the guys from Blue Cheer. He goes, hey, he wants to do some demos with you and stuff. And he lived in California.
Was it the guitarist singer?
The guitarist. So I go, okay, cool. This should be cool, right? One of the guys from Blue Cheer. So I'm expecting the guy to look a little bit like he looked. Yeah. So I'm checking the address. There's a guy out, nice houses and stuff. His wife's a known artist. So this guy outside mowing his lawn, like kind of losing his hair, his ponytail, a little fat with a Hawaiian shirt on, sandals. I go, that can't be him, can it? And it was him.
Yeah.
Go, wow. All right. That was a shock. I go in his house, beautiful house. He got 2 Marshall stacks, and we played in the house. Fucking loud. It was loud as fuck in there. I go, well, he changed. He looks different, but the attitude's the same.
Up here is
Right.
I passed him. I go, no, that can't be.
So he had drums there for you, or you set up?
I think he had drums there.
Okay.
Yeah, because I just had my cars.
Got it.
That was like a shock.
Well, how about this? How about a band that you were in put out an album in 1978, Axis? Can you tell me about that? Because that, to me, when I listen to that album, man, I think it's fantastic.
You what?
I think it's fantastic.
It is. It's a really good record.
I don't understand why that didn't go further.
Because we didn't have good management, and that's the pitfall of a lot of bands. You don't have good, honest management. I was 18. I didn't know exactly what the album needed, promotion and a manager with some clout to get you on a tour here and there. It's all that networking stuff. So we didn't really know, But Axis was together before that.
Okay.
We did. I got a call from this girl I met in California. I met her in California. She goes, "You'd be great with this band Axis. They're in Louisiana." Oh, really? And I heard, this is cool stuff. So I went down, and I lived there for a couple of months in Louisiana. And we played, wrote songs together. Then Derringer called. I went to Derringer.
How old were you when you did Derringer?
18.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, 18, 19,
Okay.
in that range.
So you leave Axis, do Derringer, and then you come back.
Yeah, and Danny Johnson, the guitar player, came with me. Rick liked him. I don't know why he didn't take the whole band. He needed a band. Jay Davis went, he was a bass player. That was Danny's brother-in-law. Went to play with Foreigner when they first started. But they paid him $50 a week, and he couldn't make it on $50 a week because we moved to New York.
Thanks, guys in Florida.
He quit.
Wow.
They talk about...
Now you got Pilsen there, right?
Yeah. So after the Derringer thing, Danny and I, we're still young. We go, fuck this. Let's start our own band. Let's get the band back together. And we did. We wrote more songs and hooked up with these managers, got us a deal on RCA Records. And got Andy Johns to produce it somehow. I don't even know how that came to be. And he just got a great sound, big drum sound, and that's the album that Tony Iommi listened to.
Well, I was gonna ask you, because when I hear that album, I'm like, even if I didn't know who this band was or who was in it, I know that that's Vinny playing drums because it sounds like Vinny's drums.
Signature
on the other.
sound.
That's his sound.
Yeah.
So is that where you feel like you established that sound?
Yeah, pretty much, because the Derringer stuff, the first album was done, Rick produced it, very thin, real thin, toppy, kind of poppy sound. Then the second album was Jack Douglas, who was working with Aerosmith at the time. A lot darker. It's a darker album and a lot bigger drum sound, heavier, but not like Axis kind of captured this is the way I want to sound.
Yeah.
So when I went and met Tony Iommi for the first time, sitting in the hotel room, Tony walks in the hotel room. I'm with the tour manager with the Axis album.
Okay.
And he goes, "This is good, it's good." And I never wondered about it until this year. I go, the fuck, did he have a turntable?
With
the album, the vinyl. He walks in, and I never thought about it.
I'm pretty sure they didn't have big-ass Walkmans with a turntable on it.
And just this year, I'm going, what do you have, a portable turntable? How do you fucking listen to this thing?
He's Tony Iommi. He walks in and says, "Play this." Somebody's going to find it.
Yeah, it's magical.
Just the record player shows up. It's going to show up.
So that's how I got, the foot in the door with the band.
So was that just the end of Axis at that point, or?
Well, Axis, we did a little tours, we like in a station wagon, shit in the back, and a little truck, and we did that and stuff, but it wasn't happening. But then I get this offer from Sabbath. I'm like, oh.
So that was totally Iommi. It was not, you didn't know Dio at that point.
I didn't even meet Dio.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't even know too much about Dio.
Interesting.
Except for the hit records, and Man on the Silver Mountain.
Yeah.
Long Live Rock and Roll. Yeah. Other than that, I didn't follow Rainbow.
Okay. Well, let me ask this about Axis. I'm sorry to keep dwelling on Axis, but it's fascinating to me. So when I listen to Axis, it's like a perfect bridge of what was happening, big rock in the 70s, big hard rock in the 70s, and what was coming with the heavy metal that was coming in the 80s. Did you guys feel like you were on top of something, or you were going to break something, or were you just going with whatever was coming out?
We kind of went with what was coming out, but I thought we developed more of a sound.
Yeah.
And at that time, we back in L.A., and somebody said, "Hey, you should go see this band at the Whiskey tomorrow night. They're called Van Halen.
Yeah.
That's your competition." Really. And I think if we would have maybe had a lead singer, it would have been a lot stronger. Mm-hmm. Danny and Jay have their sound together, but I think lacking some of the vocal.
Yeah, because we we played a track. We recorded a show previously. We played a track from Axis when we were talking about you.
Oh, really?
But it had that late 70s.
But it had, like, we heard, like, this is like...
You knew it was coming down the pike after that.
See, these guys were from Shreveport, Louisiana, so there was a big ZZ Top thing, too. Like, Danny used to call that barbecue sound on the guitar.
We were picking up on, like, Rush and Triumph, and I know those are both Canadian bands, but I could hear that sort of, with the use of the keys in the mix of what you guys were doing. It's like, it sounds like that stuff that's kind of bridging the
because we didn't have a keyboard player. We just overdubbed that shit.
Right.
But, we were so, like, hungry for, like, we need press and publicity that we were at the Record Plant Studios in New York recording that. How we got there, I don't know. I didn't pay attention to money being spent. And Harry Chapman, he was big at the time.
Folk rock,
We're in the studio, like, and Harry thought it was his studio. He opens the door and he sticks his head in and he goes, and walks out.
What is this?
So we use that as press. And then last night, Harry Chapman came in and sat in for the Axis recording session. Stuff like that.
You got to take what you can get sometimes.
But it got us in the press a little bit. Yeah.
I know you've
picture Harry like this.
Snap a picture right as he walks in.
So I know you've talked about this before, but can you talk a little bit about the John Lennon story about you meeting him?
The band I had in Brooklyn was a 9-piece band, full horn players. Guitar player knew it was really good too. This one I was 16. Guitar, it was a really tight fucking band, like rock. Right? So there's 9 of us. I'll see you later, Bill.
Okay, bro.
See you, Billy. So he knew Jimmy Iovine, right? Who went on to Interscope Records and Beats.
Legend.
He was the only guy I knew who became a billionaire ever in my life. So. He used to produce Lennon and Tom Petty and everybody, So Jimmy brought us into the record plant to do some demos, and we did the demos, and they liked us so much. The owner of the record plant gave us a rehearsal room, probably a little bigger than this whole room, in New York City, on the top floor of the record plant for free. We made it our own room. Gear was set up.
And you guys are so young. You had to just be
16.
Freaking out. Right?
Oh yeah, like. Because usually you have to go, how much should we got to chip in for the rehearsal room?
Right.
4
Can't
hours.
even drive,
$10 each.
Cab fare home.
That's the way it was. And here we got this fucking major room in the middle of Manhattan. And they loved us. So Jimmy did it. Jimmy loved us also. So we had these demos. And we're up there, we're practicing. Jimmy goes, there was a phone ring. Yeah. Hey, Jimmy, can you guys come down? We need some hand claps. Okay. So we run downstairs, and all 9 of us walk in the studio. It's fucking John Lennon in the control room. We go, holy shit.
He didn't even tell you.
No. We're going, fuck. Put the headphones on. Now he's talking to you.
And you
telling us
hear
what
that
he
voice,
wants.
right? You hear that voice like, that's fucking John.
Just talking right to you with the headphones on. I'm going, holy shit, I got to go to school tomorrow? Fuck. I mean, it's just crazy. So we did hand claps on whatever gets you through the night. Told us what he wanted. Then we stopped. Okay, now here, double up on the second half of the chorus. So we did this, and then afterward, we met him, but we were all cool. Didn't really take any pictures with him.
Right.
We were cool about it. So
you guys are trying not to freak out on us.
Yeah, we're trying not to be fanboy.
Yeah.
Go back to the room and we're all going, fuck, Jesus Christ. And then a couple days later, we're rehearsing up there. He fucking walks in our room because he probably did. Where did they come from? 9 guys in 2 minutes. So he walks in our room. He sits down, and we're playing a song, and like my muscles cramped. Oh shit! Don't drop a stick. So then he started hanging out with us. He played pool. There's a pool room there. We played pool with him. I smoked joints with him. He wanted coke all the time, but I didn't do coke. I go, no, but I got this killer weed because I used to sell it in school and shit. I smoked a couple of joints with him. And then the funniest thing, we're talking about Italian food, me and John. And I said, my family, grandparents from Italy. My mother makes this pasta and the sauce. My grandmother, I'll have her make you some lasagna. He goes, okay. So a couple days later, I bring in a pan of lasagna. And I see John, I give it to him. I go, this is from my mother. This is the authentic stuff. And he took it. Took it away. He would thank you. And then about a month or 2 later, Carmine's playing with Rod Stewart at Madison Square Garden. It's a pre-party before these 6 shows at Madison Square Garden. So Carmine invited my parents. They came to the party. And my mother's a married, little chubby Italian woman, from Brooklyn.
Right.
My father's
tough as
Charlie.
nails,
He's
I'm
quiet. So she goes, Charlie, look, there's John Lennon. So Carmine brought her over to talk to John Lennon, and she introduced herself. She goes, I'm Carmine's mother, and Vinny, and I made you the lasagna. Oh, and he's talking and talking, and at the end of the conversation, my mother goes, do you have the pan?
I need my pan back.
That pan,
good pan,
how many
mother.
lasagnas were in
Yes.
that pan?
Hey.
That's important.
We're from the South, man. Our mothers, you bring that pan
Casserole
You- yeah,
dishes,
the
same
pan.
thing.
You've got to bring
Yeah.
that pan back.
So
Let's
she
see
goes,
that pan.
John, for the pan.
Yeah.
He went, oh, I don't have it on me, you know. And then we think Yoko has it.
It's part of the settlement.
So it's a big thing now. I tell that story, people crack up. So.
That's awesome.
And
Thank
also,
you so much.
just quickly, I didn't know this until a couple of years ago. We did a number of three DVDs with him, and we did 8 songs in the studio with the owner of the record plan's wife, Lori, who just passed away. She was a singer. John was producing. So we worked with him as a producer. Then he asked us to do this live gig at the New York Hilton.
I read that
And
you
that's
did that,
all over
yeah.
the place.
Yeah.
It was on Wide World TV and shit. Then I find out a couple of years ago that was his last live performance.
That's what I read. I was going to ask you if that was the
I
case.
read it in the magazine. What? Because it mentioned John and it mentioned me. Because I played with Sabbath after that. So we were like, mentioned. And because this was his last live performance ever. And I was sitting there and the kid from Brooklyn played his last live performance of John Lennon.
That's amazing.
One of the Beatles. I'm like freaked out. I didn't know that.
That's amazing.
What an absolute honor, though. I mean, at least it's tragic that it was the last one, but you got to be there at that age.
Yeah, and then later on, a
Experience
couple of
that.
years later, I joined Sabbath later on. We're on the Mob Rules tour. No, not on the Mob Rules, Heaven and Hell tour. Warner Brothers wants us to do a song for the movie Heavy Metal. Okay, we're touring England, so we had a couple of days off. So we go into book John Lennon's house for the studio, but he passed already.
Right.
You know, it's just where he shot Imagine.
Yeah,
the White Room.
yeah.
The fucking hedges in the back,
the
like
piano still there,
dinosaurs
grand
and
piano, yeah.
pianos there. Big mansion. Wow! So they give out the keys. I got his room
Oh,
out of everybody.
a little freaky.
I go there and I see on the wall John and Yoko. Oh, holy shit! But I was like, it just passed. I go,
Yeah, it's a little vibe.
I saw too many Frankenstein movies.
yeah.
What might happen? I went back and got a different room. I should have stayed in there with a jerk. But they opened the closets. All this Beatles stuff fell out. Platinum Records Award, and even Geezer and Tony and Ronnie go, whoa, look at this. Memorabilia everywhere.
Wow.
That was incredible. So that's where we wrote and recorded the first Mob Rules song. It's different than the one that's
right.
on
The
our-
one is that the one on Heavy Metal?
That's the
Yeah,
one on
yeah.
Heavy Metals with
Yeah.
similar
That's my
arrangement.
favorite version, actually.
Yeah, different sound, a little
Yeah.
bit different sound. But that was a trip, and it's like, why did I get his room? How crazy is that? You know? But I never
thank
took
you
a
so
picture
much.
with him, and we got pictures from the gig. Never asked him for his autograph.
Wow.
But that's why he was safe with us
Yes.
when
Right.
he came.
Yes.
We weren't fanboys, and he came up and
You
hung
guys are
out.
cool.
And then I heard he was supposed to, from a DJ in New York, he was thinking about using you guys on the next stuff he's doing. Because we were good. It was a good band.
That is awesome. Thank you, Vinny. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
absolutely.
Where else are you going to get stories like that?
Crazy.
Nowhere else. We got the inside scoop on this guy. The lasagna story is classic.
Yeah, and I know he's told that before. I know people know that story, but
Yeah.
hearing it firsthand from him and seeing his face and how excited he still is when he's remembering that. Because remember, he was 16, 17
Yeah.
years old when this happened.
I couldn't tie my shoes at 16, and he's playing with John Lennon.
And you heard us say we were trying not to talk about Black Sabbath. And of course, he brings us into Black Sabbath because we're talking about Appice. He's like, oh, yeah, that's the album that Tony Iommi had under his arm. One thing I did want to do, we usually play music here and we play obscure music. And one of the bands I did not get a chance to ask him about is a supergroup that he was in 2014 and 2016. They released 2 albums and they were called the Hollywood Monsters. We didn't bring this up at all, but we just didn't have time.
No, there's only so many things you can ask
But
him.
this band was a supergroup. Mainly, the main songwriter was a guy named Steph Hond, who was and I may be totally pronouncing his name wrong because he's French, but he was a famous French artist And then he had Don Airy come in on keyboards, who's now in Deep Purple, but he's been with Whitesnake, Gary Moore, Ozzy, you name it, he's played with them. And then he had Vinny, obviously, on drums. You know who Vinny is because you just heard him. And then he had Vinny's brother's bass player, so Carmine.
Appice.
He had Carmine's...
Do I have to tell you that every time? Come on.
You have to tell me that every time. He had Carmine's bass player from Vanilla Fudge in this band, Tim Bogart. Tim Bogart was in Vanilla Fudge, Cactus, Beck Bogart, Appice. So anyway, it was a supergroup, and they were only around for 2 albums, but I wanted to ask him about it, but I did want to play them because that's what we do. So we're going to hear a little Hollywood Monsters. This is a song called Underground featuring Vinny Appice.
I'll give you all I've gotta give. I'll give more than I receive. You will need to be your friend, but I don't want to try to pretend. Time seeking lonely, no one speaks to me. Yeah. Every night I cry, every night I try to know the reasons why. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your face is all I see. No one speaks to me. I'm lonely. Your face is all I see. No one speaks to me. I'm lonely. Once again you push me down, but don't you know I'm on the ground? I thought we were gonna go, we'd have found a way to know. You've heard and accused me, you got another man you love. Yeah, your face is all I see. No one speak to me. I'm lonely. Your face is all I see. No one speak to me. I'm lonely. I'm on the ground.
That's probably one of my favorite guitar tones. I love a good metal song, but also really, really love that hard rock, just pushing as hard as you can before it becomes just the over-the-top kind of metal guitar. And that, who's doing the vocals again?
That's the French guy.
The French guy. It really reminded me of Chris Cornell's Lower Range before he launches into the stratosphere like he does, that it just had that real soulful Lower Range to it. I kind of would have liked to have heard somebody coming in over the top towards the end as it was building, but still good, just grooving rock song.
And it's so amazing because these guys are, they're all getting older, yet they're still putting together this amazing music. And there's a lot of this going on, and it's been going on for probably the last 10 years, with these project bands where these guys are just still very active, mostly musicians from the 80s and 90s and some even from the 70s. In Bogart's case, he's from the 60s. I mean, these guys have just been playing forever.
Got to be pushing 70 years old.
Yeah, and they still sound amazing, and I love all of these project bands. They just get together, they write, they do a couple albums, and then that's kind of it. But I don't know. I love the fact that at their age, and they're not just resting on their laurels. They are still putting out music. They're still obviously passionate about what they do, and they don't care about trends. They're just doing what comes natural to them.
The guys that did it for the fame and fortune or just the money, as soon as they hit it big, it's easier for them to fall off the radar. But the guys that really were in it because they loved it, they'll never stop. That's what's great about these guys.
And that's what you're seeing. And we saw a lot of appreciation. We'll talk about Saturday in a few minutes, but we saw a lot of appreciation from all of these guys. There was nobody I saw that walked around like they owned the place.
No, every guest there would easily just hang out with you at the bar. And I know a lot of people kind of maybe pushed it to the limits as far as bugging them, but they'd sit and talk to people. I saw Ricky Rackman and Leah walking out the door, and somebody like ran over to them, and I know in their head they're like, "Oh, geez, I just want to go get some dinner or something."
Just trying to leave.
But they stood over there for 45 minutes because 4 or 5 more people came over and talked to them, and they just stood there, and they didn't have any expression on their face that they were annoyed by that at all. But yeah, all the musicians that came by, we'll talk about the unexpected meetings and things like that. That it was a really cool vibe that everybody was there for the music and not just for money.
Exactly. So we went from the Vinny interview, we went back to our room, I think, for a minute, and then we pretty much just launched right into what they had, a podcaster mixer in the bar downstairs at the hotel. They made it so you really didn't have to leave other than the Mercy Lounge show, which we went to that evening. But we went down to the bar, and it was just podcasters everywhere. So black shirts and cargo shorts,
That was kind of the standard.
That was the standard. I mean, we already talked about Brad, and his brother Matt was there, which was really cool. And again, they came to the rescue both with beer and ordering pizza. We ate pizza while we were down there. Everybody else was just eyeing us like, oh, those guys are so smart. So
yeah,
it's all
it felt like we were in the cool crowd hanging out with those guys.
But, some of the people I wanted to call out that I saw immediately, and just old friends, because again, I've been going to this thing. This was the 4th year they've had it. I've been to all 4. This is the first year that I've gone as a podcaster. I'd just been a freaky stalker before then. But this year I'm actually a podcaster, or pretending to be. So Joe Polo and Karen were there from Podcast Rock City, and I've actually helped them in previous Rockin' Pods with some of the stuff they were doing, some of the videos. Sonny Pooney was there with his wife Nicole. Stephen Michael was there with his wife Jen. So they were all kind of there with their girlfriend wives, which I thought was interesting because my wife would have nothing to do with going to this thing.
You can just feel the eye rolls.
Yeah,
you just mentioned it to her.
I didn't even think about it. But Steve Wright was there from Potter Than Hell, and his wife was there as well. And they actually, the wives all and the girlfriends all seemed to be enjoying themselves. I just thought that was so interesting to me.
And Steve was one that we talked about fire trucks, right?
Yes, that is Steve. He's
so
a firefighter.
Go figure. I go there and meet a guy who has fire trucks also.
Yeah, we have a great conversation with him. That'll be on the next episode, I believe. Aaron Camaro, the master of ceremonies, was there, and I immediately gave him the rat poster. So if you listen to Decibel Geek, Aaron and Chris kind of runs this whole thing. Aaron is the other host of Decibel Geek. They did an episode, I don't know, a couple months ago, where they were looking on eBay for just rock and roll stuff on eBay, just to see what was out there. And they came across this rat poster that was selling, I want to say, for like $1,200 or something like that. And he commented on how cool it was. And I just happened, as I was listening, I pulled up the poster. I wanted to see what he was talking about, because as he was describing, I was thinking, I have that. And so I pulled it up, and sure enough, it was the same poster that somebody had given me when I was in high school, and I still had it in my basement.
Down in the catacombs, where we get a lot of our ideas from.
That's right. It was actually in the crypt with Grandpappy.
Yes.
And so I had to pry it out of his dead hands, but it was rolled up. It was a little dusty, but I brought it to Aaron and said, "Here you go. You owe me a beer." He never did pay, by the way.
What?
He got a $1,200 poster, Aaron.
We're coming to get that beer.
Yeah. We also saw Chris, obviously Chris Sinzak, and then Ron Runyon was there, who Ron's been going through a lot of issues with some medical stuff, but he came, man, he was in a wheelchair, but he was still rocking out, and they gave Ron a special prize, a Spirit Award in front of all the podcasters. I don't think you were there for that.
Yeah, I was
were
there.
You? Were you?
I was
Okay. Aaron Camaro he didn't even need a microphone. He was, that big voice of his, he was able to let everybody know what was going on. So that was super cool. And then we saw the guys from Cobras and Fire. We hung out with them a good bit. So Baco and what's the other guy's name? Steve. I think it's Steve. No, Loose Cannon. Loose Cannon was there. Let's see.
Don't out his real name.
It's Steve.
Are we supposed to say that? I don't think we're supposed to say that. Steve Cannon?
Steve Cannon. Yeah, that's it. And we met Curtis. We talked to Curtis for a while from Retro Zest. Now, I was unfamiliar with his podcast, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. And he was a super cool dude. And he had all the 96 Rock stuff, which is
an old radio station here in Atlanta that was an actual rock station that played actual rock music. Yeah, so the license plates are very emblematic and iconic, and people still 15 years later after that radio station hasn't been around, they still have them on their cars. And so it's just interesting to be given one of those. It's very symbolic.
Yep, and we saw the guys from Ages of Rock. So all of these shows that we talk about were there. And so we saw Bill, Dennis, and Big Al from Ages of Rock. I don't know if you saw this. At one point, I saw the guys from the Black Crowes podcast called State of Amorica. Mm-hmm. So David and Ian were there, and I had been talking with them a couple months ago and said, I've got all this old Black Crowes stuff, because I was a major Black Crowes fan when they first came out, and I had some old posters, and I asked them if they wanted them, and Dave was like, oh man, I'll pay you for that. But then I didn't want to mail it, so I just thought I'll just bring it to if he was going to be here, I'd just bring it to him, and I brought them both posters, and again they were like, can I pay you for this? I'm like, no,
beer,
just take it.
We need to make sure the next time we go there, everybody owes us beer. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Let's see, who else did we meet? Matt Porter was there. Matt Porter's always there from the Kiss Room. Gene Vogel met for the first time. I know him from the Cobras and Fire podcast. He has his own podcast called Disciples of the Watch. Anybody in particular you want to call out?
No, you named everybody. I like Al. Really enjoyed talking to him.
Oh yeah, Al's cool.
And Curtis was fun to reminisce with all the old Atlanta stuff going on around here.
Absolutely.
Guy Bacon,
Mr. Bacon. Yeah. I thought I'd talk about the folks a little bit first, because we actually met all the people that I usually list out at the beginning of the episode. So.
And after all this time talking about them, I got to put a face to the name, so that was actually pretty cool. We are out of stock on the potted meat, though, so
we are.
We'll back order that. If you need some, let us know, and we'll put in an order and let you know when it's arrived.
Well, I heard that the raw materials for Brimstone is on back order.
Oh, is that
so it may be a while.
There's a lot of that going around right now.
Yeah, so those spices, that little brimstone they put in there, I think.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we also met some famous listeners, and not our listeners, of course, listeners of other podcasts, but
they're known for listening.
We met the Mighty K, so Kristen Schimbeck. So I know her from the Decibel Geek. On the Friday nights, we watch the Decibel Geek, and we, always make really smart-ass comments while they're doing that live stream thing. And Kristen's always in there and always calling me out on making smart-ass comments. So I got to meet Kristen. That was cool, man.
She's fun to hang out with.
Really, really cool.
Nice to meet you.
Jay Shabluski and his son, Mr. Bill Elam. So many people. And then we went over to the Mercy Lounge. And I don't know, like I said, I was having a few beverages by that point.
Oh, yeah. It was getting very lubricated.
I'll be honest with you, there were some amazing bands. There was a great cover band that kicked it off called Rock United. Then Ron Keel came out, Resist and Bite, who features Tommy Skio from Tesla. And then they did this whole Rare Hair thing where it was just basically everybody who was a guest or in the Nashville music scene played a song or two. And it was really cool. And I'll be honest, I was enjoying my time so much just talking to people that I missed most of the music.
I managed to see about 3/4 of it, and it was really funny to see that early in the night. It was basically just the people from the podcast convention there, which once again, you can spot us a mile away. We all look exactly alike. And then as the night went on, the locals started coming to the bar, and they were about 20 to 25 years younger.
Yeah, the beautiful people showed up.
Oh my God, the beautiful people showed up later on. But at some point, you're like, I really feel out of place here, because I'm like everybody's dad walking around.
Yeah, but all the dads were probably up front, close to the
but there was a different vibe,
stage.
because instead of the dads like looking up at the sky going, what is this? The dads are like, yeah.
So I think I caught maybe 2 songs from Rock United. I completely missed the acoustic Ron Keel, or if I if I watched some of it, I don't remember it.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of that, and then there was the all-star band coming in.
Well, they had Resist and Bite in between.
Oh yeah,
So
I saw most of Resist and Bite. That was good.
Yeah, I saw a good bit of Resist and Bite, but I saw people that I knew. So I saw David Glenn, who ended up being, I want to give him a shout out because he ended up being our chauffeur a couple times over the weekend.
Thank
so
God for
thank
that.
you, David. That was awesome. So I was talking to him, and then I was out on the back deck where everybody was smoking, and I don't smoke, but for some reason that's just where I wanted to hang out. I don't know why I was not listening to the music, but I was just having fun hanging out with people. Again, talking to Paco and Aaron Camaro, just chilling with them, and talked to Ralph Vieira from the Rock and Metal Combat podcast. Had a great conversation with him. Ran into some Atlanta people. Mike Cyphers and Callie Toe from Atlanta were there, and I probably talked to them.
Oh, that's right. They've got the tribute.
They do the Alice Cooper thing.
tribute band. Yeah, they were cool.
They were super cool, and Callie's always like got some amazing costume on. Not costume, but some amazing outfit that she makes.
Yes.
And, of course, she's always turning heads with all the things that she makes. And then we met a really, really cool Rockin' Pod alum who works the event every year and just was awesome to us, Christine Perry.
Yes.
She was amazing. Showed up with sparkly boots.
She's like the social director.
She is, yeah.
She gets people to, let's go to the happy hour, let's go over to the bar now, let's do this. So the cruise director, that's what I was thinking.
There we go.
So she
Cruise director.
kind of organizes the social aspect, which, sometimes we need that. We're just kind of, sit there and talk about music all the time. Like, let's go do stuff. But I think you missed Ricky Rackman and Leah doing a Sonny and Cher type act going on.
I caught a very little bit of it.
Yeah.
And then I went in and I talked to Sonny. I talked to the Grown Up Rock guys. So Sonny and Steven, they were in the other room. So I didn't see much of it.
It was all right. I think he was claiming that he'd never played bass and learned it that week,
which is not true.
Right. I was going to say he was lying
playing
about
that up maybe a little bit.
He was doing pretty well. So he did a good job.
And then we actually, I don't remember again, it's a little fuzzy, but I don't remember exactly what time we left. But I think David offered us a ride, and we were like, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah.
But I think it was fairly early.
Well, early,
late?
like 1 o'clock in the morning or midnight. I don't think it was that early.
We didn't see the rest of the show. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And
it went on. Like I said, the locals showed up and they were ready to go much later than we were. We had to get up early.
Yeah. So let's jump into Saturday. So obviously Saturday was the event, and this is where all the stuff happened. And so what we're going to do is, and Robert, I'll tell you for the first time. So what we're going to do is...
Oh, this is what we're going to do.
This is what we're going to do. So today, in this episode, what we're doing is we're going to play a lot of the interviews that we had. Now, we also played a little game, and I think if you've listened to our podcast, you know that we have a little game that we play, but we're going to save that for next week. So next week is the game episode. Today is mainly just going to be us playing the interviews like we did the Vinny interview earlier. So we're going to play a few more. So, I thought it was interesting as we started setting up for this thing. We had to be there at 10 a.m., but they let us in a little early. I think we were in there maybe around 9 to start setting up, and there was basically a wall outlet on one side of the room and another outlet on the other side of the room, yet there were, 6 or 7 podcaster tables set up in between those outlets.
I should have brought a generator.
I really thought at any time that the whole thing was just going to go dark, that we would be pulling way too
blowing
much
circuits.
But somehow we all prepared. We all had our extension cords and everything, and everybody was fine. We got set up. Robert was plugging in stuff the wrong way, and I had to redo it all. But other than that,
Somebody else did that. I deny that.
But we got all set up, and we were right next to Brad. So we had Slamfest Podcast right next to us. On the other side of us, we had Podcast Rock City. So Joe and Karen, they must have set up their camera thing for like 2 hours, 3 hours.
It was the most perfectly set up camera recording.
They were trying to do live stream, and I think they were having some issues with it. But I don't know what Joe ended up doing. I think he was just getting audio, maybe. But yeah, there were a couple of podcasters where I saw the setup was taking a long time.
Of the weekend was how much time people took to set up. We had it. We looked like professionals for a brief second there.
Well, we just don't know what we're doing, so we basically just have a mic, and it's we're super
very old school.
Very old school. We have
analog.
a board. Yeah, we have a board, analog mics. We don't do any of that plug in your mic thing.
But it did have that visual appearance of an old school, studio, and I think people thought we did it on purpose.
Yeah, we're basically musicians, so everything we use could be used on stage.
Yeah, recorded with a PA system.
Exactly. So anyway, I thought that was interesting, and we had, across from us was The Plug, which I never had a chance to talk to those guys.
No, I never did. We were busy.
Rock and Metal Combat were across from us. I spoke to them on Friday. They were directly across from us, and I never got over to their table to
6
talk
feet
to
away.
them.
6 feet.
Now, we did talk to Ages of Rock. They were down the hall from us a little bit, and obviously we talked to Mr. Bill Elam. A to Z Radio was there, and we've got a little something with those guys. Again, next week we're going to have a little game show, and a lot of those guys show up. We were basically set up and just talking to people who were walking through the event, so people pay to come to this convention, and they just walk around, and you talk to them, and you meet people, and it was really cool. And then we had our first scheduled interview with the drummer from Accept, Mr. Christopher Williams. If I remember correctly, they didn't have seats for us at first, for the guest. We had seats behind the tables, but there were no seats in front of the tables for the guests.
And our microphones are at seat level. So we were like, what the hell do we do when they come up here?
Yeah, so thankfully I had our suitcase that we take some of our gear in, and I basically just set it upright, and Christopher was going to sit on that, but then right as he was getting ready to sit down on it, they did bring in some chairs, so we had chairs for the rest of the day.
It's like, this is going to be a redneck interview.
I was like, well, you can just sit on this, man. You're probably
Get you a 5-gallon bucket.
You're a drummer. You can deal with it. So we sat down and we talked to Christopher, and this is what we talked to him about.
I wanna rock!
All right, we are recording. So, Christopher, welcome, man.
Thank you. It's still early.
I saw that you were on the sign-up list. I'm like, I got to talk to Christopher Williams because, first and foremost, I am originally from South Carolina.
Oh, rad.
And I know that I'm from Lancaster, so it's just below Charlotte. So
Yeah.
I grew up, but I went to Clemson, so I'm from, I believe, the area that you were from. You were from Greenville, is that correct?
Lived there, yeah. Originally Greensboro, North Carolina.
Okay.
And then just before I turned 12, we moved to Greenville, South Carolina.
That's awesome. Yeah, not that it's important, but my family basically are from Honeypath. I don't know if you ever heard of that little teeny town.
BHP.
Yeah, BHP, man.
I remember them from high school band competitions.
So that's how you got your start. That's what I read, is that you did high school band. That's where you
I did all that stuff.
Drum corps and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, my mother says she always knew I was a drummer when she was pregnant with me, so...
Kicking around.
Yeah, kicking in rhythm, either to records or at concerts or anything like that. So for me, it was... as soon as I could get out the pots and pans, like a lot of other stories. And
I'm glad you went there, because another question I have for you. See, I was also a drummer growing up, and I found that Tupperware had a much better resonance, much better sound.
Yeah.
I used to love the Pringles cans or like the Quaker cans with the plastic
Oats,
top on
Quaker
them,
Oats.
because they sounded more like drums.
Yeah.
Right.
Those did sound good. Yeah, I remember taking the various size of the cake Tupperwares because they had nice depth to them, and you could get a really good sound. And I busted up like 2 or 3 of them with my mother's finest Tupperware from the 60s, because moms keep that shit forever. So, I got in trouble, and finally I was like, well, can I get a drum kit? And like, sure you can, as soon as you pay for it.
Yeah.
Go mow the yard.
My mom was amazing about that. We didn't have a ton of money. We weren't poor or anything, but, single parent raising 2 boys.
Yeah.
And so she went to my uncle Peter, who's been Sheryl Crow's guitarist since '99. But long before that, he was still like Uncle Peter, the oh my God, my icon or whatever. And said, hey, do you really think this is something? And he goes, absolutely. Let me help you out and see what we can find. And she basically just sent him a blank check and said, whatever it costs, there you go. And December 19th, 1994, I think was the year when I got my first kit.
Awesome.
I still have them.
I still have my. Was it Pearl Export? What'd you go for?
No, I had a Ludwig SL, and it's funny because that was the crossover between. They didn't really have, they had like a mid-level or anything, but it was like a crossover between their higher-end drums and then their entry-level stuff.
Right.
Just before the Rocker series was introduced. So they kept the same badges, but they changed the shell and the lugs altogether, and they only made these drums for 1 year. So it's like, rare drums.
Yeah.
First drum kit. Sweet.
That's awesome. I got my kit in 1990, and I could not afford the Ludwigs at the time. I'm like, there's no way I can get that. So I got the Pearl Export. I still have it to this day, my original Pearl Export.
They sound
amazing.
great, man. No matter what. That's why that is the #1 selling drum set of all time is the Pearl
Still
Export.
to this day.
Still to this day. They sell more of those than any other company's kits. Well, because they're great. The hardware lasts. You can put good heads on them and tune them. So many drummers that are on top of the world now started with those. They're great.
Yep. And I would be remiss if I did not say hello from our good friend Rob Hammersmith. He says hello.
Oh, right on.
I told him that we were
Awesome.
going to talk to you. So
Hell yeah.
I told him to give me some juicy questions, man. He didn't come back with anything. So here's what we're going to do. I should have explained this before we started, but we'll explain it now. So what we do is we're in Obscuria, right? So we tend to focus on music that is either lost, like people just don't know about it, or it's forgotten. Maybe it's a band that was big for a short time and then mostly forgotten of now, or bands that we just think should have been huge that just didn't get over the hump.
Right.
So I guess my other question for you here is there a band that fit any of those categories for you where you're just like, I don't know why this band wasn't huge, they should have been big, and nobody knows who they are?
I mean, for a time they were huge, but never the status of the other ones. Humble Pie is one of my favorite bands, and it's
like a musician's band. Everybody quotes Humble Pie, but nobody's heard them.
Exactly, and it's because the record sales weren't astronomical, but they were the live band to go see, for sure. And my uncle played me a show. It was the King Biscuit Flower Hour from Winterland 1973 when I was in 6th grade. And in the midst of all my Kiss nerddom, oh my God, Kiss is the best band in the world. No, nobody will ever be better. That one got my attention.
Well, and that's where Kiss came from. That's what Paul Stanley's pull, right?
Exactly. And the first song was Up Your Sleeves, and I just remember going, what is that?
Yeah. And why haven't I heard it?
Right? Yeah. Because I had heard Zeppelin and AC/DC and all that at that point. But this, it's still consider it the first time I heard real rock and roll. That's
true.
Like, oh my God. And then you meet people and it's like Humble Pie, and they either know and love it or they have no clue what I'm talking about.
Right. And I found that musicians, for the most part, are the people who know who Humble Pie is, and then outside of musicians, like, never heard them.
Yeah, you play them 30 Days in the Hole or something. They're like, oh, yeah, that was on the Roadhouse soundtrack, wasn't it?
Right.
A few classic rock rotation stations.
Billy Sheehan and Mr. Big played that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I hope you enjoyed that from Christopher. We're just going to roll through, because what ended up happening was, right as Christopher was getting up and walking over to the Rock and Metal Combat table, I see Brad talking to another artist, and I didn't know who it was. And I think you had stepped away, Robert, right after their interview to go get food.
There's a theme.
There is a theme.
For this convention. It's Robert is late. For one reason or another, like I was late for the Vinny interview because I couldn't find the room, late for this one because I was in the beer line or getting lunch.
Yeah.
I think this was lunch. And the next interview, I was late because I was in the beer line. So,
yes.
I was consistent at least, though.
Mm-hmm. But at least you brought me beer, so that made it all fine. So anyway, I look over at this person, and I walk over to Brad because he's right next to us, and it is Martin Montnik, who is the brand new bass player for Accept. He's on their most recent album, and he was just the coolest dude. And I'm like, hey, man, do you want to just sit down and talk to us? I just interviewed Christopher, might as well make this an Accept thing. And so sure enough, he sat down and he talked to us, and this is what we talked about.
I wanna rock!
Okay, yes, we have deviled ham, so we're going to play a game with you, sir.
Okay.
And if you win, you will get some of Lucifer's finest ham.
How can you say no?
So can you just give us a brief introduction for the folks listening?
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Martin Montnik. I'm the bass player for the German metal pioneers Accept.
Nice.
Amazing.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So welcome. We just interviewed Christopher, so I'll put this back to back in the episode with
Please do.
Christopher's interview. So we've got two members of Accept. Amazing. First song I ever learned on bass.
Yes.
No shit. Balls to the wall.
Very good. Did you play it right?
Probably not. Because it was the first song I ever learned.
Right.
So, you know how that goes.
Of course.
It was taught to me by, so I went to this jazz guy. He was my teacher for bass. And of course, I wanted to play metal. This is, 1988.
Right.
And I go, and he's starting to show me the Mel Bay books. Do you remember the Mel Bay techniques, like from the 60s?
I don't.
Well,
and I grew up in Germany, so we had other stuff there. We had Bach and Beethoven.
Well, there you go. So anyway,
Oh, those guys.
those, they're all right. All right. So he starts teaching me the old method and going into jazz standards and things like that for beginners. And I said, I want this, and I handed him a cassette tape that was a mixtape.
Yeah.
And he's like, put it in. Balls to the wall comes on.
Very good.
He goes, you want me to teach you this? I'm like, yes, I do. Okay, man, I'll teach you this. So he listened to it, for a little bit, and then he taught. That was my first song. So anyway.
Awesome.
And now you play it all the time, and I'm fairly certain that you play it better.
I should, right?
You should. But wait, there's more. Because not only did we talk to Christopher Williams from Accept, and not only did we talk to Martin Montnik, the bass player from Accept. But then we got a visit from the Talisman. And who's in the Talisman but Phil Shouse? So Phil is the new third guitarist for Accept. So we are giving you 3 interviews from the guys from Accept. So I'm going to let you in just a little bit of what Phil talked about with Accept. We'll have him back later in the show to talk about the Talisman, but here is his piece about Accept. I didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about Accept.
Sure,
about
yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, we had M3, and we had a show in Pennsylvania that went great. We've got one more this year coming up in outside Chicago.
Okay.
And then next year, early January, we're supposed to go to Europe all of February and January, the summer festivals. So fingers crossed, everything continues upward, and we get over there.
Yes.
So that means that today we have had 3 Accept members on our podcast, which is pretty cool.
Half
man.
of the 6-pack.
Yeah.
We'll edit into one long show, just the Accept show.
Since we talked to 3 guys from Accept, since they are all relatively new, Christopher's been there for a few years, but since they were all relatively new, I thought, you know what, I bet not everyone knows that this classic metal band has all these new guys and that they are all on the latest album that came out this year in 2021, an album called Too Mean to Die. So I'm actually going to play a song from Too Mean to Die because I just think they deserve a little more attention. So here are the new guys in Accept with a song called Samson and Delilah, Too Mean to Die 2021.
didn't realize that was an instrumental until 5 minutes into the song.
Okay, it's not that long.
Like, this is the most badass intro ever. Oh, God, the song's gonna be epic.
Well, I wanted to feature the new guys, and I didn't want the vocals getting in the way.
No,
so.
I respect that. That was a lot of guitars in that. It's heavy.
For me, I said it in the interview, but the first song I ever learned to play on bass was an Accept song, Balls to the Wall. So that band has a long history with me. The fact that they're still going, and the fact that this German band relocated to Nashville is just so unique. Most of the band lives in Nashville.
Yeah, Nashville's not known for its bratwurst.
not known for its German metal, really. So cool to talk to all those guys. And like I said, Martin just happened to be there and he was willing to sit down. I think he was scheduled for other people, but just happened to be just one of the coolest dude ever. So the other thing was cool. I can't remember I think you were sitting when this happened, but there was a lady who was a manager for a couple of different guys walking around and saying, hey, so-and-so is here from so-and-so, and would you like to talk to them? And that's what I thought was really cool about this whole event is not only did you have new artists doing this, but you had some seasoned artists who were repping themselves and not officially part of the panel, but just coming around and say, hey, do you want to chat?
That's what we talked about, how I see this growing in the next few years, barring any major pandemics or anything like that, where podcasts become more and more relevant as radio and other things continue to be completely irrelevant, that musicians and industry is going to recognize that and start pushing people to say, hey, you should go do this. And then it just feeds off itself. Then more podcasts get involved and more artists get involved. And it's going to be a bigger and bigger thing. And I look forward to next year seeing how many more artists are going to realize, old and new. Once again, brand new artists, that's cool to talk to them. And then the seasoned people coming through, that's great.
And perhaps they'll shut us down. Who knows?
You never know. Please don't shut us down.
Please don't shut us down.
No. We're sorry.
So
we apologize.
Kim Allegreza is the manager for Lonnie Hammer. Walked up to us and said, hey, Lonnie's here from Hammer Down Hard. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know Hammer Down Hard.
No, we both kind of had that deer in the headlights.
It's kind of like, oh, we're the obscure show and we don't know that band.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to say that.
Kevin just got stumped.
Yeah, I got stumped.
That doesn't happen.
And so we were like, sure. And he sat down and talked to us, and he has a direct connection to the Memphis scene. So if you think of last episode, we played Tora Tora. They're one of those Memphis bands from the 80s. There was a kind of a trio of bands, Tora Tora, Roxy Blue, and Every Mother's Nightmare. And Lonnie was actually in Every Mother's Nightmare for a little bit. He was a drummer, and he sat down and he told us all about his past with Black Oak, Arkansas, and some other groups, and he was a drummer. But in this new band, he is the singer, and I'm not sure if he's playing guitar or drums or what, but I did go check it out. So before we listen to his interview, let's check out a little Hammer Down Hard, because I thought, might as well check out the band. We talked to the guy. He was really cool to us. He seemed to really enjoy the game that we played with him and the whole concept of what we were doing, and was just, the nicest guy ever. So everybody should hear a little Hammer Down Hard. I actually bought 2 of their albums, and this is off an EP. It came out in 2019. The song's called Bleeding Out. It's Hammer Down Hard, and the name of the EP is Madness Serves Me Well.
Something awful.
That's a good cure for a hangover.
Reminds me of a band called Prong. And if you know who Prong is, I love that band. Very similar voice to Tommy Victor from Prong. So good on you, Lonnie.
It sounded very modern. A lot of times musicians that have been around a long time keep reliving the past, and that sounded something brand new. I mean, it
Which
sounded brand new.
I like both. I love artists who are true to just what they do,
Yeah.
but then I also love artists that are able to grow and do something really
But he
cool.
did it
like
well.
this.
It wasn't like he was chasing trends.
Exactly,
He just
yeah.
did that really well.
Sounds
It
like this is
sounded great.
organic for him. And let's let you hear from Lonnie. So here's our interview with Lonnie.
You always got to fix the hair, you know.
Oh, you just got to look good, man.
It's important.
I got to try to make myself look as cool as I can.
You got priorities.
But I tell you what, next to this devil ham and stuff like that, I was like, this is perfect.
So we're going to lead into this, but let's get a little quick background for the listeners. If you could just give us a little bit.
Well, I'm Lonnie Hammer. I got a band called Hammered on Hard, which is a metal band, and I'm a lead vocalist, frontman for that band, but I'm well versed at being a drummer. I did like 18 records. I played with the band Black Oak, Arkansas.
Awesome.
I played with Jack Russell's Great White, the band Every Mother's Nightmare. I did a lot of studio records with a lot of really big bands. I worked with Skillet and stuff. So we got Hammered on Hard now, and I'm trying to promote this record.
What kind of music you got?
Well, we're kind of... I'm really big into like European metal and stuff.
Awesome. So like power metal?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, but I'm not screamo or anything
Okay.
like that. I'm just
Operatic or no?
no,
Okay.
like that. I'm just more kick the dog kind of attitude,
Okay.
you know.
Some gut
more-
to it.
Yeah, you know, for me, what it was is I was a drummer and I decided to do something different. So I called a promoter at Rockfest in Wisconsin. This was back in 2018, I think it was. And I said, man, I want to play Rockfest. And he goes, I got this new band, I want to play Rockfest. He goes, send me emails, which I did. He goes, you're in. I called my manager, Kim, and I said, hey, I just booked Rockfest next summer. She goes, really? I didn't, and I did it on my own merit. I did. All I had was the name Hammered on Hard. I had no songs written,
No band?
no band, no nothing. So I had
it.
I had this little goal. So I got to play this Rockfest thing. So I had to write a whole record. So I started. We did the first song was called "Who I Am," and a buddy of mine, which is the co-writer, is a producer, Justin Reimer. We basically wrote the song together, recorded it, and we reached out to Zach Myers from Shinedown. And he goes, hey, he texts him, he goes, Zach, Lonnie's doing Zach and I know each other. He goes, Lonnie's doing a solo project. Would you want to play guitar? And he goes, well, who's singing? He goes, Lonnie is. I'm not known as a singer.
Right.
So Zach goes right away, he goes, send it over, let me hear it. Sends it over. Within 10 minutes, Zach texts him back, saying, wow, I wasn't expecting that. When you want me to come in? And that's how it started. So they ended up getting guys from Saliva to play on the record, Winger, the band Riot, Great
we played
White, like I said, Saliva, Candlebox. I just
All because based on your skills and your vocals, everybody's like, yes, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, how lucky am I? I mean, obviously they must have liked the music.
Yeah.
Right.
And it just snowballed into that, and I put 2 records out within 13 months. Now, back in the 70s, I was, Protocol. Not so much anymore. And doing a lot of great things, I'm excited, I mean, it's how lucky am I?
That's awesome, man. So just a little bit about us, what we do in Obscuria. So we tend to promote, or we tend to lean on bands that are kind of lost. People just haven't heard them. They just don't know. We play bands that have been forgotten, so maybe they had one hit and then you don't hear from them again. Or bands that we thought just should have been huge. So that's kind of that's what we do, is we try to promote bands that maybe are not getting the attention that they need. So
Give some love to the
we will
unloved.
throw in some love here.
Well, man, I mean, it's fantastic. I really appreciate it. This is how badass is this?
So cool, right?
This is like,
Yeah.
This is my first time here. So Kevin's been here how many times?
This is fourth. Yeah.
4th time. So,
Wow.
But having this much energy and drive in this room, everybody is so energetic about music. and
Passion.
Passion.
Yeah. There's a lot of passion in here.
yeah, absolutely. And I came in here, it's like, wow, I see a lot of old friends and stuff, and some of these idols and drummer-wise, Carmen and Vinny are here.
Yeah, we interviewed Vinny yesterday. I mean, rock and roll's alive, man.
Yeah.
That's what's so great.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just and thank God for people like you and everybody here, because that's what's keeping it alive. Radio is
done.
obscure.
Yeah,
it's
don't get me
done.
started about that.
And it's tough. And like right now, we got the COVID. The COVID. I was called the COVID.
The COVID,
hit.
yes.
Yes.
And everybody's hurting can't play.
Yeah.
So I ended up having a buddy of mine just bought this in Memphis. I'm from Memphis. He just bought this venue. It's like a 47,000 square foot venue. And he called me up. He goes, man, I want you to help run this venue with me. So we're gonna have this big concert venue. So we revamped everything. It's a class, It's a 5-star venue. Big ass stage, 42 foot deep by 60 foot wide, and it's the 2,000 seater. And we're going to start having some really big things happening.
Well, put us on the mailing list. Make sure we know about it so we can give you some promotion.
Absolutely,
This
this
is
is
the grand opening.
absolutely.
And the good thing is, it's in Memphis. It's in a good part of town. It's in East Memphis. And this venue, look, I'm in a band, so I want to make sure the bands are taken care of because you got a happy band, you got happy fans.
Right.
And we're attracting a lot of the major bands will be coming in this. I'd like to do like a Halloween show with Ghost or something.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
And
that'd be
have
cool.
Hammer Down Hard open it up, you know. But I had to reinvent myself then, too, just go with something different. You know, music wasn't paying the bills, so I had to go into something
Right.
else. But you know what? It's cool. I love it.
Yep. And so, being from Memphis, so you were, I'm assuming, you were part of Every Mother's Nightmare, you said, right?
Yeah, I played it and did
Play with
many
them.
records.
So you got Tor, you got Roxy Blue. So are you going to have all these guys in your venue?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got them on speed dial to call them up when you're ready?
We're good friends. I mean, I know all these guys. We hang
the
out,
Memphis
drink all-
Three, right?
Yeah. Me and Todd, the vocalist from Roxy Blue, I mean, we were playing bands together, you know? And it's cool. It's like I come here and meet all these old friends, and you know, I'm a big fan of Tor. Me and John, the drummer, are really good friends. And Anthony, every time me and Anthony, we'd see each other all the time. So it's awesome.
That is awesome. Hope you enjoyed hearing from Lonnie. The other thing that we did throughout the day, again, that you're going to hear more next week, is we talked to a lot of the podcasters. So a lot of the folks that we mention every week, we sat down and had them play a little game with us. So next week, you're going to hear from the guys in Slamfest, Cobras and Fire, Growing Up Rock, Podcast Rock City, Potter Than Hell, Ages of Rock, A to Z. A lot going on next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you listen to the next episode, which will be 91. And unfortunately, we just ran out of time to go around. We were doing so many interviews and sitting at our table so much, I didn't really have time to go check out the convention that much. Did you?
No. I made one quick lap coming back from the beer line and chatted with a couple of people briefly. But no, that next time maybe we figure out a way to budget another hour just to go check out the other podcasts.
And I've heard other podcasters.
Buy some albums.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even buy any vinyl. I didn't even check it out.
Your wife was happy about that.
Yeah, she probably was. Oh man, but so at one point after we talked to Lonnie, I think his manager's like, "Hey, do you want to talk to?" Like, I got to go pee so bad.
No,
and I wasn't joking, man.
both of us were like, "It sounds great, but no, I got to go."
So I think you maybe went peed and got beer, and then I peed and then got back because we had the Talisman coming in shortly after that. So that's when we had the Talisman. Ryan Cook, he wasn't part of the group that was going around. I saw them walking around earlier, and I guess they were splitting their time. There's three of them.
It's smart to do that.
And they were splitting their time. So looked to me like Phil was there the whole time, but it looked like Ryan and Jeremy were splitting their time. So it's Ryan Cook, Jeremy Asbrook, and Phil Shouse. And we've talked about them. You're going to hear from them in just a second. But Ryan, I had all these things that I was going to talk to Ryan about because he's the one that I know the best out of those three guys. I have a more history with him. But we ended up talking about Ryan a little bit. So the one guy that I didn't know as well is Jeremy. And I thought he was super cool to talk to him. But these guys are in so many bands. He was in Hair of the Dog. They're all three in the Rock and Roll Residency, which is a thing sort of like we saw the Rare Hair is very similar, where they bring up people and do great rock covers and to the T. And they were part of Big Rock Show, which is where I met Ryan, because that was a group that played on the Kiss cruise for several cruises, a cover band. And then they ended up being Gene Simmons' backing band and are currently Ace Frehley's backing band. And then they have this thing called the Talisman, which unfortunately we don't have anything to play by the Talisman because it's kind of an acoustic thing they do where they play stuff from all the things that they do, but a lot of Kiss, obviously with the name Talisman, comes from the Kiss movie Phantom of the Park, which we can talk about a little bit later.
Oh, God.
That's where they got their name from. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and play their interview here, and then we'll come back and play a little something from Jeremy. No, that is the extra prize.
Everybody has candy, but you guys have deviled ham.
If you actually eat that in front of us, you'll get some major swag. I don't know what it is.
deviled?
I've eaten some deviled ham.
It's straight out of hell.
It's like deviled eggs.
Yeah.
It's Satan's favorite.
This
eggs
will
and ham.
last. If there's an apocalypse, this will still be around.
Yeah.
That is great.
It's not
and
going
spam.
anywhere.
With spam and deviled
Well,
ham.
this
And
kicks
this is
spam's ass.
Yeah, there's
because
no meat in this actually. It's
It's a sprinkle of spices, though.
that is fantastic, guys.
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump into it if you guys are all right with
All
that.
good, all good.
We were talking to the Talisman, and I noticed that you're -1. So
Yep.
I was going to start the conversation. I'll just tell you a little bit about us. So we're iNobscuria. What we do, guys, is we basically play songs that are either lost, forgotten, or should have been bigger. So,
well, that was pretty much our show for 5 years that we used to host here. We know a lot about that.
So you're in the right place.
So we should talk about the sensational Alex Harvey band then, right?
We have already covered them in one episode.
Status quo.
I love it. I love you. See, you're speaking our language.
Yes.
This is exactly what we do. So who are some bands that you guys think or...
That's the Alex Harvey patch right there, isn't it?
No, I don't have an Alex Harvey.
Oh, okay. I love that.
But so who are some bands that you guys just are in love with? Because I know you guys do. You've done the cover thing. You play everything. You guys are ringers. That's what you do. And who are some of the bands that you just feel like, man, this band should have been huge and it just didn't happen?
Jellyfish.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
although they had some notoriety, but it was more around musicians,
Man,
right?
but
musicians,
they're and they're definitely a cult thing.
Yeah,
and the people that know about it really fucking know about it.
Right,
personality-driven music.
Yeah, like if you like XTC, if you like the Beatles, like you're gonna love Jellyfish, right?
Yeah. They probably were in the 70s, but Humble Pie, I think,
that is so funny.
Should have a lasting, at least in this country,
They should have been on. They should still be on classic rock radio on a daily basis,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we had Christopher Williams here earlier. That was his answer as well.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the answer we give. It's a musician's band.
That is a musician's
and
band.
It just proved the point right there.
Yeah,
The
there's a
people that
lot
appreciate music.
and there's a lot that you can say that are big, not here in the States,
Right,
But,
right.
But yeah, Humble Pie, what they did pretty well in the States, but then didn't have the lasting.
But even there, if you think about 30 Days in the Hole, right? Like most people don't even know that that's their song, right? They're going, oh yeah, Billy Sheehan wrote that, Mr. Big.
Exactly, it's a Mr. Big song, right? Totally.
So here's another thing I wanted to mention. I was on the Kiss cruise, and Ryan was on. So I'm good friends with Rob Hammersmith.
Oh yeah,
drummer.
we know Rob.
Skid Row, right?
Our Atlanta connection.
So he's our Atlanta boy, and we played in bands in the past. And so anyway, I'm hanging out with Rob, and Ryan comes by, and I meet Ryan for the first time, and I'm wearing a shirt that I made, right? And it's kind of funny because I kind of do my own shirts when I go on the Kiss cruise, and so I had this shirt on, and Ryan's like, man, I love that shirt. I was like, oh, I made one. In fact, I have another one. Let me give it to you. And so I gave him a red shirt that has Gene's head on it, but it's Elvis's body.
Oh, he wears it all the time.
Right.
Yeah, you made that.
Right.
Nice work.
So he tells me later that he goes and meets with Gene. As he's wearing that shirt, Gene makes a joke about it, and then he offers him, like, hey, I want you to put together a band for me.
Yes.
And so
that was when we got the gig.
So that is my little piece of history that I have with you guys.
He helped seal the deal. I think that was the last thing that Gene needed.
That was it. Thank you. Yeah, that was when he got the gig.
And with that being said, I think you guys kind of do what we're trying to do, which is, when you were with Gene, when you're with Ace, you're trying to bring some of those songs that maybe they wouldn't normally play. So I would say, what is the one song that y'all got over where you were like, fuck yeah?
I can tell you the one that we didn't get in that we wanted more than anything. Probably Love 'Em, Leave 'Em.
I carried around the lyrics for Love 'Em and Leave 'Em for the whole gig.
And Gene just wouldn't do it?
And he wouldn't do it.
For some reason.
What was his reason?
I'm not sure, because he was pretty much down with everything we suggested. He would go for it. If we had the lyrics for him, Jeremy wrote the lyrics on a big poster board, we would do it. So whatever that one, I don't know what his hang up.
Huh.
And Rockin' in the USA, he wouldn't do it. But then in Fort Wayne, we were kind of just jamming stuff on stage
during the show,
and
we did a verse and a chorus of Rockin' in the USA.
And that's kind of how Gene did it, right? Because you guys would just sort of start playing stuff. You may not always get through the whole thing. Is that right?
It happened organically like that. I don't think
people would start yelling stuff, and then with us, a lot of the 80s stuff, I'm not sure, but like most of the catalog, you can't stump us. So we would start playing, like people would go Unholy, we'd play a second of Unholy, and then we'd do something else. It
did get to where it was happening a lot, and he was like, let's not do as much of that tonight.
Do a couple tunes.
Right. What about Ace?
Ace is pretty much set list is what we're playing.
There's no convincing.
Yeah.
We don't really talk to him as much. There's a chain of command there where we kind of talk to Gene because we'd hang out.
We were with Gene pretty much every waking minute.
That's kind of interesting because
I would have thought it would be the other way around.
You would think it'd be the other way around.
Yeah, no, man, Ace is kind of a loner and does his own thing. And no, Gene likes to hang out and cut up before the show, after the show.
At catering, we ride to the hotel together.
He likes to be one of the boys.
We we'd have breakfast at the hotel together with Gene. We were with him all the time.
Nice.
And he was, so we had more time to talk about stuff. And
Right. And Phil, I don't know if you remember, but you and I were on podcast Rock City Live together with Brad Rustoven over
was
here.
it the game that I lost?
Maybe it was one of the last. It was one of the last
No, it was the
shows.
one you cleared the board. You, you won everything.
you're right. Yeah.
That one.
Well, let me ask this: what's the future of the Talisman? Because I saw you guys in Atlanta last year. That was the first show that I saw. You were at the Ponko
Chicken.
Ponko Chicken.
Ponko Chicken in Decatur.
It's the first show I saw
Love it.
after the pandemic, and it was kind of weird. It was kind of a weird atmosphere, but I thought it was great. I loved it, and I guess the first thing I thought was, could these guys do something like Classic '78 and do a Talisman record where you're basically doing songs that are in the realm of Kiss? Have you thought about that?
Not really. Classic '78 does such a good job, and I know somebody else that's done a record that isn't released yet that is mind-blowingly awesome.
Really?
It sounds like between Dress to Kill and Destroyer. If there hadn't been a live record, it sounds like the studio record.
No
I
shit.
can't say who it is, but it's mind-blowingly awesome.
Appreciate that nugget of nothingness.
I'll be more vague next time. Thank you.
He's going to be scouring the internet tonight. Son of a bitch, where is that?
On my hard drive.
That's awesome. So you got Alice Cooper coming up
Yes.
later, right, man?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? Because I'm a huge Cooper fan.
It means that I'm not going to lose my house.
Nice.
Oh, this is true. Yeah, we get to pay.
That's a great tour anytime, but to come out of what we've just come out of and to get and any gig's good, but to get 5 weeks with Alice Cooper,
Yeah,
it's this is great. And the venues are awesome, and it's going to be a
we're
great
really
tour.
coming back to the coolest thing we've done with Ace yet.
Yeah, it really
Right.
is. And we know Cooper's band, and so it's going to be in the
so
crew.
much
It's going to
fun.
be so much fun.
Well, I saw that first gig on the cruise with Ace.
Where we opened with Save Your Love.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my god! I thought you guys were like, oh my god, they got him to go deep on so many things. That's why I asked the question.
We had some help with that one. Like I said, there's a chain of command, but with that cruise, we knew we were going
You
to
had
have to
to, yeah.
whip
Yeah.
some stuff
Yeah.
out for the Kiss fans.
Yeah, or else you hear
Exactly.
a thousand different blogs about
so
it.
yeah, that was all we did. A lot of crazy tunes that he'd never done before, probably since he recorded them.
Right. Now, I'll say this, and I don't. You guys were perfect. I felt like Ace was he taken by surprise? Or
Yes.
Okay.
And what everybody doesn't really understand is, we did rehearse for that, but we did take on a lot of new tunes.
Yeah.
And he only rehearsed them one
And he's
time.
not used to that.
But that day, Kiss brought him up to jam with them. That was off the cuff. That was not something that was planned. So he spent all his time to prep for his show or get ready or get in his headspace or whatever, sitting in a room waiting to go on with Kiss, going over stuff with an acoustic guitar, and then playing with them. And then he only had an hour and a half in between that and when we needed to be there to play.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, he was. It threw him off.
It was apparent you guys were solid, and he was kind of in that space of, oh shit, I gotta make sure I get this right.
Yeah, we did rehearse those couple days, but it was a lot of new.
Yeah,
we did a lot of new songs. I always forget how many we did. Yeah, it's a lot of
Dark
stuff.
Light and all that.
That's a lot to do in one rehearsal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what we had basically.
That's what I figured. So let me ask this question: have you fanboyed with any? Because I know you play with so many people that you have them come when they come to Nashville. They come up on stage with you guys when doing the residency and all that stuff. Who have you fanboyed on, or have you?
Luckily, anytime we fanboy, there's been our performance involved, so they kind of are cool to us, fellow musicians and stuff. I can't really think of any.
What about internally? Where you're just like,
oh yeah,
all of them, every one of them.
Still happens. It still
Check
happens
off the list
on my
every
regular
single one.
gigs.
Right,
so I'm playing with Wolf or Ace or Gene. It's just like, wow, look at this.
That's awesome. How much time do we have left?
You got about 1.5, 2 minutes.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Damn. So we were going to play a game with you, but I don't think we have time to play it, unfortunately.
That went fast.
Yeah, it went by super fast. Well, let's get back to the Talisman. So what is the future plan? I mean, I know that's a passion gig, right, for you guys.
We're doing the Kiss Cruise.
Cruise Fest before the Kiss Cruise.
Yep, doing Cruise Fest and the Kiss Cruise, and then
We've got some more Ace dates right after that, before Thanksgiving, and as of now, there is some stuff for next year, dates that were held over from 2020 that are going to be made up.
we're making up some stuff. Fall, maybe it'll be announced soon, but there's other stuff being worked on. So we'll be out working.
Would you guys consider doing a live album or cutting some of the tunes live?
I'd love to.
I'll do anything Ace wants to do.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
That's the attitude right there.
Dude, I would
like
love that.
If they say we're doing it, I'll be there on time.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming by. I really appreciate
Oh
it.
man, thank you. Are you guys you're out of Atlanta?
We are. We're
Yeah,
out of
Okay,
Atlanta,
cool. Yeah. my girlfriend's in Roswell.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm over there a lot.
We're in the Smyrna part of Atlanta, so
Gotcha.
The Smyrna, Georgia.
specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm a Smyrna boy, Tennessee.
Yes.
You guys got your ham, so you've got the devil's sauce.
All set. Oh, this
So
is
help-
so funny.
Yeah, I was sitting here actually trying to read what is in deviled ham.
I wouldn't do that.
They're
if I
very
were you.
vague about it.
yeah.
On purpose.
Ham,
Beelzebub.
it's cured. Ham and seasoning.
Satan spread.
There actually isn't a lot of ingredients in here.
Just meat and meat
make you think
byproducts.
that it's not unhealthy,
It's
but
really not.
And,
no.
and we
Lot of
have
salt.
we have this for the vegetarians. If anybody's vegetarian, we're going to give you chicken.
Oh man.
All right.
And fish for the vegans.
Yes. Well, no, they
Yeah.
don't do deviled fish.
Deviled fish. They should.
This
Oh,
deviled
God.
crab. There
Yeah.
is deviled crab.
Yep. Pickled herring. If they do they pickle fish. Okay.
That's the best, man. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate
Thank you, man. Thank you guys.
Thank you for coming by. Jeremy spoken. Oh.
Jeremy did speak, and now I want to play a little something from a band called Minefield. Now, there was a table set up for Minefield, so Brandon Fields is the guitarist in this new band called Minefield, and it features Jeremy Asbrook on guitar as well, along with Todd Kearns, who plays bass and does lead vocals. If you are a Kiss fan, you'll know that Todd is the guy who can basically pull off any Kiss cover and sound like Paul Stanley. So on the Kiss cruise, when the Kulick brothers did their show, and then when Bruce Kulick came back the next year and did his show to play all of the songs that Bruce was part of with Kiss, it was Todd who was kind of playing the Paul Stanley part.
Filling in
and just killing it. But he plays bass in this band and lead vocals, so he's great. And then Matt Starr is the drummer in this band, and he is with the Ace Frehley band now, but he was also in Mr. Big and just this amazing drummer. So it's another kind of super group. But Brandon Fields is from Nashville, so he had a table set up. He had all of his stuff set up. I went and talked to him a little bit. He was out in the hall. I don't know if you saw him. He had blonde hair, real long blonde hair.
Yeah. You always had a crowd.
Yeah, so I'm assuming he sold a lot of albums, but I walked up to him and was like, hey man, I bought that thing online, so you've already shipped it to me. It's really good.
Thank you.
But I did want to play some of Minefield here. Again, it came out in 2021. It features Jeremy Asbrook, who we just talked to.
powerful voice. There's vocalists like that, and we can make a list of others. I mean, the Chris Cornell I mentioned earlier, that powerful without even trying. But then when they really kick it in, it's just adding that turbo boost to it. I love listening to that. And I jokingly say the what's the guy from Europe, the Final Countdown, that something weird
Joey
about
Tempesta.
Yeah, that his voice. I mean, there's just something about. I'm not really into the band other than their hits, but his voice.
I thought they were pretty good. They're still good.
Oh, I'm just saying, I'm just not into them. I don't,
Right.
as in, I don't,
You don't follow them.
but I like it.
Right.
It's one of the great anthem songs out there, but still his voice is what really gets me. It's, like I said, it's piercing, it cuts through, but it's not like it's like he's not even trying, and he's powerful.
If you don't know who Todd Kearns is, he has a bunch of his own music out as well, but just the guy's amazing. And I believe they recorded that entire thing last year during the pandemic, so that was all remote recording.
Mm-hmm.
It astounds me how people can do that, can work,
And that
just
was
on
remote.
Zoom. And
That sounded like it was recorded with a $200,000 budget in 1987.
it
sounded
big.
good.
Did a really good job. It's a great album, so go check out Minefield if you're not familiar with that. So after the Talisman left the table, I can't remember if this is when we got the special visit or not. But let's just go ahead and talk about the special visit that we got.
So somebody was interviewing with us, and I think it was, and they were getting up and leaving, and we're taking off our headphones. We've been talking for a long time now. We had a few beers, and out of nowhere, that we look up because we're sitting down, and this very tall person is rummaging through our
deviled ham,
which is our swag, which it already caused a stir. That was
it was a hit. We'll just say it. It was a hit.
Yeah, we made the right decision. So we just look up, and there's a very tall gentleman rummaging through, and we look up, and it is
Billy Sheehan.
Yes.
From David Lee Roth's band, from Mr. Big, from Talus, who we played last week.
Mm-hmm.
And my response was the dumbest response ever. I go, oh, we don't have you.
You're not on the list. You have to leave.
Meaning I immediately thought like, oh crap, he thinks he has an interview with us, and it's actually because I knew that Joe Polo, who was right next to us, had an interview with Billy, but for some reason it got canceled.
And Joe
wasn't happy about that.
Right, but we didn't want to bogart anybody's interview because it just happened to us.
Because it happened to us. And I'm like, oh, we don't, I'm sorry, Billy, we don't have you. And then I look over and I see Christine. She's like, I brought him to you. I was like, oh my God, thank you, Christine.
She's our enabler.
She was awesome. She was so cool to hang out with. And she was Billy's guy all day long. So she was walking around taking him where he needed to go. So every artist there had a Rockin' Pod person who was with them and taking them to all the tables. It was really well run. I just have to say that. Chris Senzak, you did an amazing job.
Yes.
Tracy McAndrews, amazing job. Everything just ran so on time and just so well. No complaints at all. I was a little concerned about the power thing, but it all ended up working fine. It was no issue. So so we get a visit from Billy, and he was so excited to see deviled ham. He's like, I used to eat this, and
he was absolutely enamored with it.
He loved it.
I wish somebody had a camera rolling or phone so we could have recorded that.
I know, and I wish I just left the recorder on. We would have had that to give to you here, but we don't. And so he goes, well, what can I give you for this? And I'm like, a picture?
That's all we ask.
So we got a picture with him, and then he gave us a Winery Dogs pick as well. So if you're wondering, yes, there is going to be a new Winery Dogs, a third album coming out, and they've just recorded it. So that's cool. We got a little inside scoop there, but of course they've been all over Facebook, so everybody already knows that. But then Billy, as he was getting ready to walk away, I'm assuming he had another interview to go to. He's like, hey, did you know that they have deviled chicken as well? I'm like, oh yeah, we know that, Billy. And here you go.
Bam.
He's like, oh my God. He was so excited. He had deviled ham and deviled chicken.
Somebody that's seen a lot in his lifetime, we blew his mind with deviled chicken.
And I'm just thinking, like, that dude hasn't been to Walmart in 20 years.
No, I don't think he's been to a convenience store or Walmart in a long time.
I'm pretty sure you can pick it up anywhere.
And that's cool that you can live a life where you don't have to go to Walmart or convenience. I would like to live that life. I have not reached that point yet. I still have to go to Walmart. And the funniest thing was the only time I've set foot in a Walmart in a year and a half is to buy deviled ham. And let me tell you, I had not missed it at all.
Now, we actually didn't have anybody ask us to sign the deviled ham. I was a little disappointed in that, but we did have our iNobscuria sticker on the top.
Yeah, so it was merchandise, basically. It was swag.
It was. So then we had this guy come up, and right as Billy's leaving, I believe, if I got the timeline right as he's walking away, I hear Kevin, big booming voice, Kevin, and I look over,
6'3".
yeah, Mr. Tall as can be, even taller than Billy Sheehan. It's Ron Keel. And
how many other podcasters did he walk up to and like call out by name, first name? That was pretty awesome to be standing there and he just walks up, hey, what's up, Kevin?
Gave me a big slap on the shoulder. I'm like, my God, it's Ron Keel. And we're gonna play the Ron Keel interview later.
Yeah,
we're not gonna
We've
do
got
it
a
today.
lot of stuff going on today.
That I will just go ahead and say it. That was my favorite interview of the entire weekend. Was talking to Ron Keel. He was amazing.
If you get a microphone in front of him, just let it roll. I mean, he is a great interview, very courteous, and just gracious to be where he is today. You'll hear on the interview. You'll see how down to earth this guy is. It's amazing.
Yeah, and if you listen to Cobras and Fire, you know that already because he's been on Cobras and Fire. So that's the other person he called by first name, I'm pretty sure, is Baco. Because Baco's interviewed him probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 times on that show, and they're actually, they've formed a friendship, so it's pretty cool. But that's, the running joke, the running gag with Cobras and Fire was that they sit in the hot tub and have their conversation. So that's why a few months ago we were talking about taking an inflatable hot tub.
That's their shtick? Okay. Well, we next year, we're bringing the hot tub
so
next year.
If Ron Keel comes back, we're going to at least have a kiddie pool.
We put our feet in it.
He'll have to take his boots off. So we will get into the Ron Keel on another episode down the road. We're going to do something special with Ron's music, so be on the lookout for that. So after Ron, we had 2 more interviews. I mean, we were slammed. We had a lot going on. So we had Miss Jax Hollow next, and with Jax was her manager / drummer Angela Lisi, and my band The Swear has procured her talents to play with us on a few shows in September, so I asked Angela to sit in on it too because I wanted to talk to her as well. So we're going to play the interview with Jax and Angela here. We are without Robert. We have empty headphones over there. The co-host is nowhere to be found. I'm assuming there was a bathroom problem.
Oh, ew. Shit happens, bro.
That's right. That's where we're going. So we have Jax Hollow here, and we also have Angela Lisi here. So this is pretty... That said your last name correct, didn't I? I
yes,
did.
perfect.
Right.
Thank you.
I got that. Okay. So I am super excited. I got to tell you, Jax, this was the interview that I've been looking forward to all day.
What?
Yep.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yep. So I discovered you because of Wagner, right? So I saw a post, and he was talking about Jax Hollow. I'm like, that's a cool name. What is that all about? And so I got the album, listened to it when it came out, and I'm blown away. I just think it's so awesome, right? I love your playing style, love the voice, everything about it, full package. Like you're not just in one zone. You do different things. I just think it's so cool, and you've got some pretty good rhythm section behind you. So
yeah, right. It's okay.
So that's pretty badass. Now, unfortunately, my co-host isn't here, but I was also going to mention to our fans here in Obscuria, because I don't know if you know what we do, but what we do is we focus on obscure music. So it could be something that's lost, like people just don't know enough about it, right? It could be something that's forgotten, like maybe it was a hit at one point, and then people just forgot about the band or the group or whatever. And then we also focus on bands that we just think, he and I just think, the empty chair, just think that should have been huge. Why weren't they huge? We don't know. So that's kind of what we focus on. We talk about every week different bands, and I just have to say that we are so honored and thrilled that a young person like yourself, because I'm an old dude, right, that you've drawn inspiration from an obscure band that I was in. When I heard your song, and I was like, oh my God, she has the Big Jack Pneumatic album that I put out in the early 2000s. I can't tell you how thrilled I was to hear that you did that. So I'm just going to play a snippet of something from your album, and then something from what I know is your inspiration for my album. So let me just go through this for the listeners.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a snippet from your song, Say My Name. And I tell you what, when Robert and I heard it, we were like, oh my God. I had no idea we had fans of your age. So
Yes.
I am now going to play.
It's nice to be respected.
It's nice to be respected. It makes me feel good as an old person. Yes. I am now going to play from Big Jack Pneumatic's song.
2001
called Pushover.
Yes. that's him on the bass, me
Damn,
on the
so how
guitar.
much do I owe you?
I actually drummed on that album. That's my drum beat.
Again, just thank you so much for that attention to our songs, bringing it back. You know, you were one of 5 who heard that, and we really appreciate it. We heard your song, and I was like, holy shit. It reminds me a little bit of something we
The
did.
royalties on that, would it be about 8 cents so far?
we
racking it
I
up.
can do that, bro.
Racking it up.
Yeah, so, and I don't know if you know, but I'm actually borrowing your drummer here for a little bit.
In September.
In September, so,
Okay, what else are you going to fucking come after me for?
This is all about...
This is actually an interrogation.
Yeah, so here's what we're taking from you. Here's the list. Let's slide the list over.
So let me get into the album. So are you officially the last artist to work with Michael?
I am, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty wild, yeah.
Now, did you have an idea? Did you guys know that he was going to make that...
He just sprung that on you at the last second.
That Facebook post that he made, like, I'm out of here, I'm going traveling.
Pretty much. Like, I mean, I didn't know while I was in it. You know, I was just obviously in there soaking soaking up every moment I could, like, with him creating the album. But yeah, after it happened, he did tell us before he made that post, and I was like, oh my god, like that's it.
That's pretty cool. You're the legacy. You know?
Yeah, right.
That is
100
pretty-
million records and friggin'
And it sounded phenomenal too.
Yeah.
Just the guitar sound of that was amazing.
Yeah. So tell us about the guitar tone. 'Cause did you use his gear? I'm assuming that he had and
He's
everything
a wizard.
that he's done.
Dude, I would just be there noodling. He'd just be these little hands and buttons, everything. He'd go in and out. He'd like walk out of the room, come back. He'd like, you know, listen, come back, you know, and it's just like I just noodled. He'd just keep playing. I'll just noodle, and then the tone. I was just like, you know what? I've never sounded this good in my entire life. I just sit there playing guitar like I've never sounded this good in my entire life. And he did all the tones. I just sat there and he just fiddled with everything.
That is so cool.
So how'd that impact your recording as far as just take you to another place now that you know I sound this amazing?
Yeah.
I've got to play even more amazingly.
Exactly, because I can sound this way. Like there's the pressure to do that and then some.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
always fucking striving for like the next thing. So that's it. Yeah.
I used to be a drummer, and I always remember the first time that I was in a proper recording studio, and I heard my drums in the mix, and you know, in the cans, and I'm like, oh my god, that sounds so big and amazing. Like, I was like, is that what I sound like?
Yeah, dude.
I just remember that first feeling of that. I love that.
It's always nice to record with Wagner.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Can't imagine. How about this? Your sound to me is, and I know from reading about you, is deeply rooted in blues rock, classic rock, but you take your music elsewhere. So I'm assuming that you have a very eclectic flavor, you know, things that you like to listen to. So who's a band, knowing what we do as in Obscuria, who's a band that you just dig so much, but you're like, why does nobody else know this band?
Cool. Yeah. I actually have been pretty into kind of like rap recently.
All right.
I don't know if you guys know Chris Webby.
We're from Atlanta,
We
so
should know.
we should know hip hop.
He probably lives down the street, and I don't even know that.
He's like a white boy from Connecticut.
Okay.
And his internal rhymes and his like play on words and playfulness and raw biting, just like fucking flow. Yeah.
All right.
Chris Webby, he's awesome. Yeah, that's what's crazy. I just take this shit from everywhere.
From
I
everywhere,
did like the rapping, even with the rapping he does could even come out in like my playing, you know, like percussion wise, you know. But yeah, like you said, I grew up like being like, you know, I just want to be Jimmy Page and Robert Plant all into one person. That's who I want to be. I just want to be like like the female Jimmy Page, but also have like the fucking, you know, Robert Plant.
The flares, it's the hands. It's the hand
It's
motion.
the sexiness of like
it really
the
is.
hands up.
That
and,
was
like,
a pandemic thing, was watching some concert footage, Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
several times, and the stage presence that
There's
he has.
power. It's just,
It really is. There's something about
how can you
that.
be so powerful with you doing
With
such a
with your
feminine
frilly
thing?
thing
I
with your
love it.
hands.
I love it. There's something so cool about
That's
it. Yeah.
what made it so awesome. is
Yeah.
you
Holding
everybody.
the cord to the microphone. How that's an art, to hold the cord of the microphone as you sing.
All right, this is the category that I'm putting you in. You're in the category of badassery when it comes to playing guitar. So
Alphabetically, we just
so we list you in badassery. So what's it take to get to that level for you? Like, what was a young Jax like?
A young Jax was a frantic, like, let me practice 8 hours a day and see what happens kind of thing.
That's what I figured.
But yeah,
Okay.
but I, you know, so there's always like the fucking like nose to the grindstone, like just like total like obsession with the instrument itself. But then there's also like genre wise. So like I studied classical guitar for like 2 years straight.
Mm-hmm.
Studied like, you know,
Like what
shit, but yeah.
age would you start? Did you start doing
Oh,
this?
13.
13.
Yeah, 13.
So you decided decided? Like, was it your parents who influenced you to maybe listen to stuff that you may not have at that age, or is it just you like discovering it on the radio, or what was it?
It was just me being a weird fucking kid. I needed an outlet. I was a weird kid. We don't know what to do with her.
Was there a guitar? Was there a guitar in the house, or did you have to go out and make that decision? Have to go buy a guitar?
No, that was my dad. His brother, who passed away, had an old guitar in the basement. It was a silver tone, terrible, strings
horrible
different.
action.
If you don't start on a guitar with terrible action, you're never going to go anywhere.
Right. I started on my dad's that was probably from the 60s, and the strings hadn't been changed since
and it's
72.
Rusted. You can get like an infection.
Right.
You just
you had to get a tetanus shot.
Yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then, so you go through all that, and then you decide to go to Berkeley, right? And I've heard you say, like, that maybe it's not the best thing for you.
Yeah, no, it's...
In hindsight. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, Berkeley's cool. Here's the thing, like, I'm just like some, like, kid from Western Mass, blue-collar family. Like, no, there's, like, no reason. Like, they can't go to Berkeley. It is my dream school, but, like, obviously can't afford to go there. So I tried really hard. I got a scholarship. Still wasn't enough. Went anyways. Had to call them, like, every year being, like, crying on the phone. Like, please let me take out more money that I'll never pay back. And,
pay the rest of your life.
But it worked. It worked. Actually, I think paying for college was actually harder than graduating than actually doing well. But that's the thing about Berkeley is I do have to be honest, I did learn a lot. It did push me really far. Like, I did it in 3 years instead of 4 because I couldn't afford to be there, so I had to take.
Just had to go.
When you pay for it, it's like a flat fee. So if you take as much as you can, so you don't have to pay more later.
But like, what was your expectation? Like, you do that. Was that like, I want a solid base, and I think this will help me, or was it more like, I think this is what's required of me to get to the next level?
It's more of a, here's my fucking tool belt. I want every one of these motherfuckers to be like leveled up, level up. Like whether it's like writing chops, playing chops, like meeting people, like, production, like, can I do my own demos? Like, level everything up so that when it's time for me to, like, when I do have an opportunity that presents itself, I can be like, hey, this is what I'm capable of doing. And I'm always working on, you have like 5, all those points on a star. You gotta, like, make sure that all of them kind of spread out the same amount. You don't have, like, one weak little star hand that's, like, over here. And, you gotta make sure you're leveled up, man. So I was like, how can I be totally prepared for what I want to do in my life? And Berkeley seemed like the right way.
I've read that you said maybe in hindsight that wasn't the thing that helped me really.
No, I don't, because I think that just, cutting my teeth, going out on cruise ships, playing in front of people, I think that's way more valuable than sitting in a class being like, what did you guys think of, the lyricism behind, you know what I mean? Like,
is that what you would really do? They would decipher lyrics?
There's so many different things, dude. Sometimes I think back on it and I'm just like, I don't know, some of it just felt kind of obviously like pretentious and stupid, and I was kind of the only one sitting there like, just like, really, and everyone else is just like, shh. I'm just like, really? I don't know. I was always the weird fucking kid no matter where I go.
All right, so I want to pivot because I want to bring Angela into this as well. So I have been in a female fronted punk rock, you can call it rock, whatever you call it. We're in a band called The Swear, and I've been in this band for 17 years. So when I said I was old, I was true to my word here. I am old. Now, back in the day when I joined this band, and so it's female led. Elizabeth plays guitar, she sings what you're doing.
Writes the songs.
Writes most of the songs. She writes all the lyrics, and she's a badass, right? But we have dealt with some bullshit over the years, and I always like to talk to other groups that have females in it because it's the shit that you deal with. And I know you were on stage earlier today talking about this, but a lot of our stories have to do with sound men. So I'd love to hear some of these stories where you have these people who think that they know who you are and what your capabilities are before ever even hearing you. And want to tell you, do you have something? You got to.
I got a good one. There's a venue somewhere in Tennessee, I won't say where, that the very first show I played there in another female band, basically. We showed up with the gear, and the sound guy he was just like, not starstruck, but just like deer in headlights, and was like, why is the band making you carry the equipment? Oh my God. I'm like, oh, sir, we're the band. Sorry.
Aren't y'all just the girlfriends of the band?
Yeah, it's totally what he meant.
That's so sweet that you're doing that for your boyfriend.
God, And he was so nice. I think like there's some kind of endearing misogyny in music.
Oh my God, endearing misogyny.
That's my new band name, by the way.
That's wrong.
I'm writing it down. I called it. But
I'll look forward to your first release.
It'll be real good.
Enduring misogynist.
That was kind of the funniest, worst experience I've ever had. But I also come from a career of a male-dominated career before that too.
Right.
So like I've seen it worse than that than music. But
really, okay.
I think Jax is kind of like so good at her craft that there's only a moment where people probably like question like, oh, is she going to be any good? And then as soon as she starts playing or singing, everything goes away, that doesn't matter. And like I'm not quite that good at my craft, but I feel the same way. If I'm drumming, like,
excuse me.
Yeah, right?
well, if I, I've seen the looks, you can see their faces kind of change, like in the moment, in that first song, halfway through, you can see everybody like, oh, okay, they're going to be cool.
Right.
It's more like that. It's a little like it's short lived for the most part, but once if we get to the point of like labels and that kind of stuff, then we're going to be dealing with some real hardcore stuff.
Institutionalized.
I would
douchebaggery.
I would hope that it's gotten better over the years. So I would hope you're not experiencing maybe some of the stuff that we dealt with 17 years ago.
I'm sure it's a lot. Ever since the Me Too movement, I'm sure it's been a lot better, like with shit like that. Yeah, or it's suppressed, and then the suppression's not good because it'll come out in weird ways.
So Angela, did you ever play the Rutledge?
No, I did. Oh my God. I did. Who did I play with?
There's a sound guy for you.
You're right. Yep.
Who's calling him out?
That dude. No, you're right. He's notorious. And I played one show there, and I think it was like a 3-song, bunch of bands that I just showcased with somebody. And
was that the guy with the decibel meter?
No, that was a different gig.
Okay.
No.
I forgot about that. Yeah. They're not. The venue's not there.
It's not there
for a
anymore.
reason.
We can talk about it.
Again, I'm old, so.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Is there anything else, Robert, that you want to ask Jax?
No, I'm sorry I was late. The beer line was long.
It's all good.
He's got his priorities.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Fair enough.
Well, I just want to again mention that the album Underdog Anthems is amazing. Now, there's one question I have for you that is really stupid. There are 2 covers. Why are there 2 covers?
Oh, 2 covers? Oh, for like the...
No, like one has like your one logo and then the
album
other one has
cover.
the other logo. The album cover itself. I've seen 2 versions of it.
Oh, shit, yeah. Like one has the logo and one has like Jack's Hollow, yeah.
What's up with that?
He's a graphic artist
Yeah, right.
sometimes.
So are
Why'd
you?
they do that?
No,
He
I know.
notices things
The
like that.
inconsistencies.
Yeah.
That was probably my fault. I think when I saw the first one, I'm like, let's try and clean it up just a little bit.
You didn't like the
next time.
okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay. Because I like the first one. I'm like, I like the first one.
Oh, you
better.
do. See, I'm outnumbered. Okay, it's on our picks. So yeah, the first one's on the picks.
I told you it was a stupid question.
It's all good.
Well, again, the album's amazing. Just best of luck to you, and
Thank you, man.
just keep rocking. It's amazing.
Thanks so much.
Let us know when you're coming through Atlanta.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
We'll come out.
Sweet.
Awesome. Thank
See
you.
ya.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right, so as you can see, Jax was amazing and obviously a big fan of ours. I think she realized that we caught her little trick.
Yes.
So she mentioned in the interview that she will be giving us some royalties, so I'm waiting for that check. Jax.
36 cents.
Yep. Give me those streaming royalties. I'm looking for. I don't even know how you take a percentage of a penny, but it must be amazing.
Pliers, the clippers. You just clip the side of it off.
So we had one last episode of the day, and I think I mentioned to several podcasters, hey, are you interviewing Leah Vendetta? And I didn't talk to a single podcaster that was.
What are these guys thinking?
And I'm like, it's Leah Vendetta.
God, the epitome of dorks.
Well, you have the opportunity to have a beautiful woman who's a model, an amazing tattoo artist, and she was a reality TV star. She was on Ink Masters.
And
She was
she
on
had-
this season 1.
And she has a French accent.
And she has a French accent.
Yeah. Say no more.
Why would you not want to interview Leah Vendetta? And she did not disappoint. I think she was a little taken aback, though, with us.
Playing because we were asking hard questions as far musical influences and things, and that she had to think about that.
She had to think a little bit. I could tell it was also late in the day, so I think they had been going pretty hard. She had her own booth set up where she was selling, I don't know if she was selling art, but she was definitely selling different merchandise that she has, and kind of working with Ricky, because she is Ricky Ratman's girlfriend. Fiance, sorry. And anyway, I think she was a little tired and a little taken aback by, the 2 dickheads that are talking right now. So But we did get some interesting stories, and the ghost stories, I loved it because you could tell she kind of perked up when she got to tell her ghost stories. So I thought that was a really cool way to get her on the program and just talk about her. We didn't go too far into who she's going to be married to or any of that kind of stuff. We were talking about her. We were talking about her art. We were talking about, and I was geeking out on Ink Masters. I mentioned it, but that has been my guilty pleasure. At least this year, I think I started in January or February. And
Guilty COVID pleasure.
Yeah, I'm on season 10 now, so I've really watched it all. So this is going to be the last interview. So here is Leah Vendetta. I can't believe this. We are talking to Leah Vendetta. I'm really excited about this, Leah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So let me just tell you about my COVID issue, or I guess what I did during COVID. I started binge watching Ink Masters during COVID.
My God.
Right? And so
He's fanning out.
I'm like totally fanning out because I'm really into the show. I'm into episode 10 now. So I've gone all the way since I probably started early this year, actually, is when I started. But yeah, so I've just fell in love with the show. I love it. Absolutely love it. Because I'm just a big art guy. I'm into art in general.
Yeah.
And so I just appreciate the art so much of what you can do on skin. I got a little bit. I don't have nothing like this, but yeah, so I'm just so stoked to be able to talk to you. So that out of the way. So I'll just give you a little bit about what we do. So in Obscuria, we talk about obscure music. So we talk about music that is either lost, like people just don't know it, or they just haven't been exposed to it. We talk about music that's maybe been forgotten, like maybe a band had a hit, but then nobody listens to them now, nobody remembers them. Or we talk about bands that we just think should have been huge, you know?
There might not be a reason, but...
Might not be a reason, we just like them, right?
Okay.
So I always start off with, who's an artist that you listen to who you feel like nobody knows this band? Why do they not know this band?
They deserve more love.
Or is there one?
Oh my God. There's so many, and they're like, oh, it's going to be tough because I have such a bad memory.
Are there French bands like that you listen to where you're like, they're these awesome French bands that they should be big in all over the world?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
But nothing's coming to mind.
I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I listen to like so many weird stuff. Like, I don't even know if anybody would want to listen to it.
So give us an example.
It's just
anything.
What you like.
Well, okay, I love Bowie. I'm like, the problem with me though is that I love something and then like I want to discover new stuff and I get like lost in the rabbit hole on like either YouTube or like Spotify and I learn new stuff and then I forget the names and but let's see, something that's obscure and should be more.
It doesn't have to be totally obscure. Just if there's a band where you're like, this band should be just playing the Forum in LA, but instead they're playing little club.
Well, okay, like Faster Pussycat.
Yep.
Yeah.
They play in little clubs, and I think they should be like playing in big clubs, like bigger clubs.
Right.
And I think they're amazing. I think they have like some hit, like House of Pain. It's like, come on, like that stuff is like so huge. And whenever like the tattoo shop we work at, like it's kind of like one of the songs that's like
on
part of like the daily list playing, or the weekly list playing, and like nobody at the shop knows it's Faster Pussycat.
Because they're all younger and they don't know.
They're all younger, or like, because it's like it sounds a little bit different. I mean, it's a little bit more. That song is like it's a little bit more like I don't know if I should say pop because it's not a pop song, but it's more poppy.
It was
more catchy,
It was
right?
very catchy and it was popular.
There's a reason it was a hit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good sing-along.
Yeah.
So that leads into my next question. So obviously you're an amazing artist. You do tattoos, which are incredible, and you do painting, right? So how do you? I'm assuming that you're a huge music fan as well, because I saw you on stage last night.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Great job, by the way.
So those are listening. Did a nice duet with your fiance.
Yes.
Ricky.
That was really cool.
Yeah, we did Candy from Iggy Pop, and Candy is sung by Iggy Pop and Kate Pearson, which I was, like she's amazing. So
I thought you channeled your inner Kate Pearson. I thought it was great.
I tried to, so I hope it translated.
Yeah, it did. So that being said, in your art, so whether it's tattoo or whether it's painting, do you use music in the background? Do you use that to inspire you? And how does that work for you? Like, does it change maybe what you're putting down on canvas? Does it change what you're doing on somebody's skin?
Well, I mean, yeah, it changes the flow, right? So like any artistic work, like if it's music, you play music, or if it's visual art and you do painting or tattooing, there's this thing that is called the flow, and it's when you do that thing and you get like into that.
You're in the zone.
Yeah, you get in the zone.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. Like whenever you listen to some kind of with different music, you get in different zone. I feel because music is something that it's vibration and it sends different vibrations. Therefore, it makes you feel different vibrations, right?
Right.
So and that's the thing with me with music is I listen to all kind of different stuff.
Right.
You know, that's why when you say what kind of band, it's like, oh my god, like my palette of like music is so huge. I wouldn't even know where to go. But I listen to music, like I listen to rock and roll, I listen to like some jazz, I listen to some pop, I listen to some art pop, death metal. Like I mean, I'm all over the place with my stuff. Sometimes
Right.
like classical stuff, you know, sometimes old French stuff because that's where I'm from and I'm a sucker for stuff like that.
Do you pick different types of music or different types of artists depending on what it is you're going for visually?
When I paint, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
when
you
I-
do. So let's talk about your painting. Because by the way, I had no idea. Obviously, I've only knew you from the show, and then I looked at your page and saw your paintings. I'm like, oh my god! Like this is a totally different side, though. It's not the same. It's a different side of you, and it's amazing. So talk about that a little bit. So is that where you started? Was painting?
I started with painting, yeah, and I did. I mean, I actually went to art school in Paris, and I learned like technique, and I learned art history, and so I learned all the different type of paintings. You know, like the classical, the romantic, the impressionism, expressionism, all that stuff, and I developed my own style. But like so, some of the paintings I did, like I kind of like I became so busy with tattooing that I kind of like let the painting go. So like the last paintings I did was probably like in like 2005 or something.
Okay.
You know, so that was a long time ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I want to pick it up again. But I'm super busy tattooing. I don't have the time.
But it looks like
Yeah.
that. Looks like your painting style kind of comes from a different headspace. Like it's coming from somewhere else because it's more French focused, right? It's more focused on at least what I've seen.
Yeah,
it's
so-
been more focused on your background.
So those paintings, I have different periods. Like those paintings that you probably saw, where it's like they're like dancers and they're under like street lights, and it's a little bit like cubic like right, cubic style. Those paintings is when I moved from France to the US, and I moved to South Florida, like around like Fort Lauderdale, and I was there for like a couple of years, and I think I was like a little nostalgic from France, and I began to just like express that, and I was
Right.
just painting like the stuff I remember, like the old streets and stuff, because Florida was a little bit like new and sterile, you know, like the building and stuff, compared to what I was used to in Europe.
South Florida is that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Robert's
mean-
from Florida
I'm
as
from
well.
Florida.
Oh, you are? Yeah. Well, and but I mean, I was there for a long time because I ended up like doing really well tattooing and opened a shop there. Owned the shop for like 10 years before selling it and moving to Key West, actually, and then Vegas.
And so where are you guys based out of now?
Now we are in North Carolina.
That's
in
what I thought. Okay, North
Mooresville.
Carolina. And how did that come to be?
Well, I met Ricky, and he was there, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you come and move with me?" And
But is that where he's from, or he just picked Mooresville, North Carolina?
no, he picked. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
he's from LA.
That's what I
He's-
thought. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
He's
almost
like,
the furthest you can get from LA is all the way across country.
I'm from South Carolina, but I'm from right on the border of Charlotte, so I know North Carolina really well. And I was like, it looks like they're in Mooresville. Like,
yeah. We're really close to Charlotte.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, so how about this? Can I ask some really dumb behind-the-scenes questions from Ink Masters? This is like
Yeah,
really
they're-
stupid questions. But so did they really put you in that loft space, or is that just staging? Is that really where you stayed
Yes.
and lived?
We stayed there for like a month.
And you had like a little teeny bed?
Yeah. Oh, you don't even. Oh my God.
Because they
Like,
showed
the-
it one time, I think.
Like
the
you have
first
no
episode.
idea. Like the behind the scenes stuff is like I don't even know if I should talk about that, but like that was crazy. Like
Nobody's listening. Don't worry.
It's literally above the tattoo shop is where it is. That's how they make
So-
it look.
yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
And like there was so many crazy stuff that happened there. Like I had my first like ghost experience in that building.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it known to be haunted?
I don't know. So like the place that they rented was like this full building attached to a church. And so in this season, because then after they changed building, now they in a different spot. But in season 1, there is a a flash, the first contest thing that they do, like I forget what it's called.
The Flash Challenge.
The Flash Challenge, yeah, is in a church, right? And they make us draw like praying hands.
Yes, I remember that.
So that church was attached to that building.
Okay, so you didn't have to go anywhere.
We didn't have to go anywhere. Like we just walked through the building and it was there. And but in the building we live downstairs, and from the outside it looked like a regular like Manhattan, like New York City brownstone, you know. And but it was not in Manhattan.
Okay.
It was in New York.
Oh, it was.
New York.
Yeah. Nobody knows that. They make it look like it's in New York.
It's
City,
a little less
right?
expensive there.
Right.
Yeah, and upstairs we just took this big stairway case to go all the way up to the tattoo studio.
Okay.
And whenever we would go,
because they make it look like it's on the ground level, the tattoo studio, right? When they shoot the images.
Yeah. It was in the same building, and it was separated by the staircases, and it was probably like, I don't know, like on the 4th floor.
Okay.
And every day we would all like go, you know, with chaperones, like with people, and we would all go up the stairway, get to the tattoo studio, go to work, and then at night we would go back down to the studio and go to sleep, whatever.
Right.
And one day somebody said that the stairway case was haunted. And we were like, no way, like, we don't believe you, like, what are you talking about? And then one day, I was with my friends, so on the first Ink Master, we were a total of, I think we were 12, and we were 2 female, and the rest were guys.
Right. Yep.
And so we kind of like, those guys were kind of like, you know, together against us. So we were like, okay, well, let's hang out, 2 girls. So we were kind of like hanging out together. And we went back downstairs one night, and we're like walking downstairs, and it's like, and we're like walking, and we hear somebody like behind us, and it's like 2 a.m., right? Like we were just done with our shift, and we just finished designing.
And there's
the
no
stuff.
film crew with you at this
There's
point.
nobody. It was just like 2 of us and like somebody like watching us, because in those shows there was always like somebody watching you, because they want to make sure you don't cheat and stuff like that, you know. You always have to have like an eye on you, like. And so we're going down, and like we hear like steps like right behind us, and we stop, and we hear the step stopping, and we're like, it's like 2 a.m. There's nobody. Right. Everybody is like,
turn around, nobody there.
There's nobody there, and we look upstairs, and we're like, okay, maybe it's the echo, right? Like when you go downstairs, because it's like such a big building, big stairway. So we like clap our hands, and we're like, with our hands, no echo. We're like, oh, there's no echo. Like, what the hell is going on? So we're like, okay, let's go down a couple more steps down, and we go down a couple more steps down, and we're like, and we hear the same step following us.
Oh,
like,
man.
What? And we just like took off running.
Same thing, yeah.
Be time to move out.
Was that the only episode of a haunting, or was there other things?
Oh, it was like other things, and it was like.
So could you sleep like at night? Were you?
Yeah, I could sleep because everybody was there, you know. But it was just like, I did have like some other stuff happen where I was, you know, I didn't believe in like ghosts and like all that stuff, and now I do. Like now I do, like some other like crazy stuff happens. I'm like, I can't, like. And now so Ricky and I, we go, he's been doing this thing called Ricky's Ride every year, which is a charity ride.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys do that.
And I've been doing that with him, and he's really into like the horror stuff, but he doesn't believe in ghosts.
Oh, okay.
So one of the rides, we went to the Stanley Hotel, and that was pretty wild. And he was,
which is infamous, right? That's known for this. Yes.
Yeah, and we went there, and this is what happened. Ricky really, really wanted to like go and check out like all the activities. So at midnight we get up and we go like walk around the Stanley Hotel. And I was like, and he's like, I don't believe in anything. And I'm like, oh man, please don't be like that. The last time I did that, like
don't piss him off.
Yeah, don't piss him off. Don't dare them. Don't, you know, because like the stuff that happened to me, like no, like I don't want this to happen again. And we like walking around. around, nothing's going on. And we see this other couple that's like walking around, and we're like, hey, did you guys see anything? No, we didn't see anything. And they keep checking stuff out, and we walk, and we see those two guys. We're about to like go up in front of like the most haunted room in the hotel, and we see this guy that comes close to us, and he's like wearing like a black turtleneck, brown hair, like cut short, and he's like, hey, did you guys see anything cool tonight? And we're like, yeah, we're just like walking around and checking, we're hoping we see something. And then there's another guy that was like right behind him that was like that had like this really old like camera, like really old school one,
like the boxy ones.
Yeah, like the boxy one. And I guess they were like getting ready to take a picture and stuff, and like he was far, and he came closer and to his friend like to talk to us, and he's like yeah, what do you guys think? And like the guy, I swear to God, he's wearing black turtleneck, brown short haircut, looks identical to the dude that was just talking to us, and those guys were together taking a photo. And
They could have been twins.
They totally looked like twins. They were twins. And I totally like freaked out, and I began to like, I was like, well, all right, good night, guys. And I went like upstairs and like left, and then I ran for my life, and Vicky followed me, and I was like, Vicky, come on, what's going on? And then we saw this exact couple that we saw like 5 minutes before, and we were like, did you guys saw the twins in front of the most haunted room? And they were like, they came back from that same spot, and they were like, no, what are you guys talking about? There's nobody there. And the next day, we went to the bar downstairs, and we were like, let's go ask the barman, because like if there's twins like checking in, like they're gonna like remember the lobby, right? Right. So we asked the lobby. The lobby, they were like, no, we would know that. Like if twins checked in, we would totally know that. And so they were like, no. And then we go in the bar, and the barman's like, no, I haven't seen any twins. Like we would totally like see something like that. And then the barman looks at us and he's like, well, I mean, in the 100 years that I've worked here, I haven't seen anything like that. And we were like, oh.
But there was no ghost story about twins or anything with that whole place. Not that they told you.
We should make it up. We should just make our own story about the twins.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So I know we're almost out of time, but I do have one more geeky question about the show. So what is the actual timing of how you guys do that? Obviously, they show them.
Real.
They show them over week. So it takes place over week.
I see.
Or is it like every day? Like, are you guys there for 2 weeks, and that's what they break up into the sessions?
Each show is Flash Challenge.
Then you have the
tattoo.
Yeah. So
and
is
then
that
somebody gets kicked out.
Is that done in one day, and then the next day it's what they call the next week?
No. I mean, the show that I was in was a little particular because it was the first season, so it took a little bit longer, and we probably went through like, no kidding, like 11 producers. Yeah,
because they were trying to sell it.
They were like, it was like the first one ever.
Right.
They had no idea what to do with the tattoo industry, like how to do stuff, and we had to stop, and we had to tell them, hey, we need this and we need that. We don't have all the supplies we need, and
Right.
So it was a little bit. I'm sure now they got it all.
It's probably a well-oiled machine now. Yeah. You couldn't tell. I mean, you can't tell it when because I've gone back and watched episode 1 or the season 1 again. So like you were there through 6 episodes. How long? What was the actual duration of time that you were there? It wasn't 6 weeks.
I was there a month.
A month.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was there a month.
Oh wow! I thought it would be a lot shorter than that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
But then after I went back and I did another like little offshoot from the stuff. It's not Ink Master. I don't think it was the same production company, but it's called the Sirens of Ink. And the Sirens of Ink, we did that in 1 week.
Okay.
And it's
a one-off.
Yeah,
show.
one-off, and it's like I think it's
that was all the women came back, right, and did that show.
We were 4 women.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, super cool. It was so awesome talking to you. Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. Thank you, Leah. All right, well, that is what we have this week. So this was part 2. We have a part 3 coming. Next week, it's going to be a little game show featuring not only artists, but a whole cast of assorted podcasters. So stick around, people, for next week. Episode 91 is going to be classic. Until then, later.
See you.